never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
What's Pro Football Focus doing? Last week they had Brady. This week they got Brady.
We're literally doing it differently from everybody else.
As a matter of fact, moving forward from this point on, I will not make reference to PFF.
Do you not understand that they are that way because you're Joe Flacco?
And you just like to discredit things that people deserve credit for.
That you can't possibly be expected to defend that.
Talk about the game, Sam.
So,
who cares about what people think about us?
Yeah, I like football season, and all the things that go with it.
Welcome into the PFF NFL podcast. Steve Palazzolo here with Sam Monson, live on a Monday morning on YouTube. Appreciate everybody tuning in because it's Mock Draft Monday, Sam.
Yeah.
We have another iteration of our favorite pastime here, mock drafting.
Favorite pastime.
Besides baseball, of course. We get the parade here tomorrow in Cincinnati.
There's a parade?
Yes.
Why?
Opening day is a major event
Opening day
in
was
Cincinnati.
days ago, weeks ago.
Yeah. But
they've been playing baseball.
Things were thrown off because of the thing and the lockout. And Cincinnati used to be the place where the first pitch of the season always took place.
So now we're having an opening day ceremony / parade like 3 weeks into the season.
We haven't had our home opener here in Cincinnati yet. Cincinnati's like the home of opening day.
So this would be like the NFL having their opening Thursday night, blah, 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 in like week 2.
No, it'd be like on Sunday. Other teams played games, but you're going to play your first, kind of. It's your home opener.
Right.
It's going to be a parade, Cincinnati, because that's what we do. We throw parades for opening day.
Okay.
Because the Red Stockings or whatever. No, the Red Legs. The Red Stockings, that was the Red Sox. The Red Legs went back to like 1871.
What?
It's an old team here in Cincinnati. So anyway, happy opening day week. So we're going to go head-to-head. Mock drafting.
Yeah. Okay.
Reds got a dude throwing 100 yesterday.
I saw somebody throwing 100. That's
30 miles an hour faster than me, yeah. At least 40 miles an hour faster than you.
Allegedly. We don't know yet.
We'll see.
Who knows?
So today we're going to go head-to-head mock draft. Next week we're hoping to have either perhaps a special guest, and at some point we'll have maybe next week will be our head-to-head. I'm sorry, our fan-driven mock draft.
Yes, the thing you've been pushing for God knows how long.
So let us know if you're a super fan for your team. Maybe we'll have designated drafters, one per team, or we'll just put it into the chat. We got all sorts of stuff we could do. Anyway, the people are already showing up for this thing. Let's go.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
By the way, it's Hutch week over here, so the Hutch documentary is dropping. You have any more to add on that?
4-part documentary put together by all of our video guys, Austin Gale being the host, talking to basically everybody that's ever met Aiden Hutchinson. You know the way like anybody that ever had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay got a head coaching gig?
Yeah.
It was like that, but with the Hutchinson documentary. Anyone that's ever talked to him for any period of time is in this documentary, covered.
Yeah.
Wall to wall.
I can't wait to hear what his third grade phys ed teacher has to say about him.
What she saw, way back when. If she saw the genius, the greatness.
What if he was dunking it like in third grade?
Right.
And you just knew. Looks like a future NFL defensive end.
To me.
Yeah.
In my amateur eye.
Right. This is what I've caught 15 years ago. Anyway, let's. So Hutch drops anywhere you listen to podcasts. We'll have much more here on the PFF channels. But right now, let's get into mock draft, and we're going to use our mock draft simulator. We'll do our best if you're on audio to kind of keep tabs. Is it just Ethan? Is it just you in the booth? I forgot to mention this to you before. I wonder if we can have Ethan, keep along.
The other critical part of this is we want to we've said this before lots of times, and then we immediately deviate from it. This should be what we would do as GM of each team, given that we are about to be GM of each team. So none of this like, well, what I would do is draft this guy, but we know the team's going to do this, and let's do that instead. This is what you would do. Steve Palazzolo.
This is usually how I mock draft.
General manager.
Yes. I'm the general manager. for every team. I like that I've given you – I'm going to go first.
Okay.
So I'll take the Jags during Hutch week here. I've given you the Lions at 2.
Yeah.
The turning point in the draft, pick 2. I've given you the Panthers at 6.
Oh, not the Panthers.
The other thing the one place where we might cheat a little bit is when we have teams with 2 picks. It does seem to work out for the most part, but we're going to try to pick for the same team. So
works out at the top, and then it goes to hell later on.
We'll adjust for that later on, but don't you worry. So let's get started here. Mock draft 2022. We're going head to head here on the PFF NFL podcast. The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock, and of course I'm going to go with Hutch, not just because it's Hutch week, but I'm going to go Aiden Hutchinson. He's been my pick for the Jaguars all along the way here. It's not just a need pick. I think he's the best player in the draft. 94 grade last year, and comparable production to other elite edge defenders throughout the last few years.
And you don't care if your quarterback gets killed.
I do, but as the Jaguars general manager, I have 11 other draft picks in this draft.
None of them are number 1 overall, though.
Right, but I'm going Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay.
Because we're building a team here.
All right.
So you going to follow along with your mock draft simulator?
Well, yeah. So I know who's there and who's been taken.
You could follow along at home with the mock draft simulator over at pff.com.
You could.
You definitely could. So that puts the Lions on the clock here at number 2.
How am I at pick number 2 and I already hate it?
That's how it always is.
Obviously, I think that if Hutchinson made it as far as 2, I think the Jags would immediately turn that card in.
That's why I wanted number 1.
Yeah.
Here. I took the I picked the Jags.
Honestly, I'm starting to buy into the idea that all of the hype surrounding Trayvon Walker is. I'm starting to be convinced that the Lions are starting smoke fires here, where there's no actual fire.
Probably
everywhere. So the Lions are actually going to end up taking Kayvon Thibodeau.
But this is what you would do.
Yeah, which is what I would do. But I also think that's what's going to happen. I'm starting to buy the idea that they're manufacturing this entire thing, and that trying to entice somebody into coming up as high as number 2 to get Trayvon Walker, whereas in reality they just want Thibodeau. He's the best edge rusher. Has been all along.
Besides Hutchins.
Yes.
Right. I can see that.
Yeah.
I could buy into that. So this is what Sam would do. You're going to go Thibodeau at 2.
Yes.
All right, so let's go Kayvon Thibodeau at 2 for the Detroit Lions. It would be smart for them to start all those, start all the rumors, Trayvon Walker and Malik Willis, and it's like, come on, teams, come get somebody. We want to trade down. But I'm not buying. I'm not going to trade up with you. So you're going Kayvon Thibodeau at 2. That means 2 edges right off the board. Aiden Hutchinson at number 1 for the Jaguars. Kayvon Thibodeau to 2 to the Detroit Lions. That puts me up on the clock now with the Houston Texans. And similar issues here. You've got all the tackles on the board. You've got the cornerbacks on the board. Did you watch a little of Derek Stingley's workouts? Speaking of corners.
Yeah.
The jumps. Mm-hmm. I'm torn on this one. Yeah. He's got this broad jump.
Yeah.
Where it looks like he had never done a broad jump in his life. But he just floated through the air. Mm-hmm. An incredible athlete. But his form was horrendous, like he had never practiced.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he practices for things that are important.
At all.
But he looks like an incredible athlete.
I'm kind of...
And he's got the best cornerback season we've ever seen.
Yes.
And he did it as a true freshman.
I'm sort of inclined to suggest that you can't do that without having practiced at all.
Just a broad jump?
Not that kind of... you can't just roll out of bed having never attempted any of these athletic drills and be highly ranked just through athleticism. You have to have at least, run through... Renner's 40 thing, right? Renner's 40 wasn't atrocious, but his start was comical. So he lost easily 0.2 of a second.
Yeah.
So the ironic thing about that Renner 40 video where he claimed he could run a 4.6 and then ran a 5 flat is he honestly was probably right if he had any idea how to start at all. But he didn't. So he didn't. So my point being, Derek Stingley, if he'd never practiced any of this stuff, would not have put the kind of numbers he did. Therefore, he must have practiced. His form just looks ugly.
Yeah. All I know is I'm bringing this up because I had started. I'm off-season hype guy, but it's partly because it's research is ongoing and I'm preparing evaluating this draft class, and I was ready to put Sauce Gardner as the top cornerback.
Yeah.
And I think I still might, but it's really not a huge difference between him and Stingley. I'm back in on Stingley in this top 5, top 10 discussion. So with the Texans at 3, previously I had gone tackle a lot of the time. I know they just re-signed Laramie Tunsil. I mean, right tackle still likely an issue, whether they do move Titus Howard over there or it's Charlie Heck or Cedric Ogbuehi. So I'm debating here for the Texans.
Cedric's still kicking around, huh?
Yeah, he's still kicking around.
Good for him.
As a third tight end. So I'm going to pick for the Texans at 13 as well. But, man, I'm really tempted by these corners.
Well, the great thing about the Texans is they need everything.
They do.
So you can literally just say, who is the best player on this draft board? That is who I'm taking.
The cornerback has been an issue. Even when Deshaun Watson was there, I mean, it's been an issue. So let's do this. I'm back in on Derek Stingley.
Okay.
I'm going to go, but I don't know, system-wise, is it a little bit more zone-heavy in Houston? It's between him and Sauce. Give me, but I'm trying to hit home runs here if I'm the Texans. I get the extra first-round pick. So I'm going Derek Stingley, number 3 overall to the Houston Texans because he had a really good broad jump. No, I mean, really, because he's an awesome football player, and he worked out well enough coming off a foot injury. I'm going Derek Stingley at 3. So we have Hutchinson, Thibodeau, and Stingley now, the top 3 picks in the draft.
The point with Stingley is the one I've been making, which is the fact that he showed that elite level of play, the best cornerback season we've ever seen back in 2019, is more important than when we saw it. Because we know that cornerback play fluctuates all over the place. It's dependent on receivers, on quarterbacks, on various other things. So simply having shown you're capable of playing at that level is more important than showing it last year, right?
Yeah.
So Stingley, having gone through the last couple of years with injuries and just not playing at the same level, okay, it's not great. You would much prefer it had gone in the other order, but the fact that we've seen him reach that potential means he's worthy of a top 5 pick.
So there we go. Stingley at 3. 3 defensive players on the board. I just want to contrast that to last year where we didn't a defensive player didn't come off the board until, 8? And we didn't think, realistically, it could have been 11 or 12.
Yeah.
It was an offensive draft. Well, this year, in our mock, Sam and Steve, head-to-head, 3 defensive players in the first 3 picks.
Yeah, and I think, this is supposed to be, generally speaking, a defensive draft relative to last year. The only thing upsetting that is the run of tackles at some point that's going to come in this first round. So Derek Stingley, I think, takes one guy off the board that would have been in consideration for the Jets. I think wide receiver, cornerback, edge rusher are the 3 spots that the Jets are looking at. We've already lost 2 edge rushers and a corner from those top 3 picks. So that's not an ideal way, I guess, for this draft to start if you're a Jets fan. And if it felt like that, I would imagine they'd be certainly on the phone wondering if anybody's interested in coming up to this pick, assuming they're stuck there, which they're going to be for this draft because God knows we're not entertaining trades at this point.
We could. I mean,
No.
I mean, neither of us is really going to be inclined to trade up, but we could if the right
No.
You don't want to trade?
No. So I think Sauce Gardner is in the conversation. I think Trayvon Walker is in the conversation, depending on how good you think he is. Given that it's us drafting, we're going to be lower on Trayvon Walker than other people. I will go for the best wide receiver on the board at 4. To me, that's Garrett Wilson.
Wow. This thing is really – the people are going to be questioning our sanity because it doesn't look like a regular mock draft.
Wouldn't be for the first time.
It doesn't look like a regular mock draft. Garrett Wilson at 4.
Yeah.
Final answer.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson at 4 to the New York Jets.
So people have been asking, like, who – if you were just looking at potential, what would the receiver board look like? And it would be, Christian Watson high, right, because of the 6'5" and 4.3 speed and all this kind of stuff. And I think George Pickens would be high up there. I think Drake London would probably be high up there. But I also think people are kind of overlooking Garrett Wilson in that conversation because he's only, like 6'1", 185 or whatever. Like, if he becomes elite, it'll be the way Stephon Diggs is elite, right? Stephon Diggs does not have any of those, like, mind-blowing measurables that physically overwhelming. He's just amazing at everything. And Garrett Wilson, maybe not that right now, and maybe he never gets to that. But that's the way he becomes a number 1 receiver. It's that he's just good at everything, and that is good enough to translate at the NFL level, and that makes him a legitimate number 1, which in that offense allows Corey Davis to be the possession guy and Elijah Moore to be, a 3/2, take over Corey Davis's job and blah, blah, blah. Makes everybody better. But I don't think you need 6'5", 4.3 speed to be able to achieve that.
The idea of potential is really an interesting one, and I've been meaning to study this for a few years now. And you need like a baseline of expectation. And then I think you have to go back and say, okay, which guys exceeded expectations? Which guys actually hit their ceiling? So, like, did Julian Edelman, we talked about him a lot on the last show, did Julian Edelman hit his ceiling? Of course he did. You would never say he was a high potential guy, right? So how do you define which guys hit their ceiling, so to speak? We default to it's got to be the tallest, the biggest, the fastest. But which guys actually hit their ceiling? Is it guys that had a baseline of production or whatever it might have been?
Well, I think there's an assumption that athletic freaks have a higher potential generally than non-athletic freaks on the basis that if all things are equal and this guy is a better athlete, he's automatically better, right? But if you look just generally at like the greatest players to ever play, they're not just the best athlete. Like Jerry Rice is at least as good a receiver as anybody that's ever played the game. You would say number 2 is arguably Randy Moss, right? Now, all of a sudden, you've got two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. You got Jerry Rice, who ran this fabled 4.7, and let's say that's sort of apocryphal, and actually Jerry Rice is a 4.5 or 4.4 guy, whatever it is. Jerry Rice was not the greatest athlete to ever play wide receiver. Randy Moss maybe was. So you've got these two guys that have both ended up basically as the best ever. Randy Moss for a shorter period of time, Jerry Rice for 20 years or whatever it was. But clearly, athleticism alone is not the thing that makes you automatically have the highest ceiling. Quarterback, like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, these are not athletic superstars. And then, the next group down, say, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a hell of an athlete for a quarterback. But you look around, and I think the default assumption that freakish athleticism gives you a higher ceiling, certainly when you're looking at, like, greatest of all time levels, Hall of Famers, et cetera, it doesn't really. Like, sure, it gives you I think the athletic testing thing gives you a baseline of like, hey, you're clearly viable at this level. Now let's see what your natural ability and work ethic and just technique and football playing ability can do. And it will be a separator if two guys are basically the same. One of them is a better athlete. But I don't think it automatically follows that freaky athlete means you have a higher ceiling than non-freaky athlete.
Yeah, completely agree, which is why, again, you go back and it's like, all right, if you're just projecting performance, it's not this straight line for athleticism. There's more of a straight line from college production to NFL production if you're tracking college production, maybe I think the way we do on a play-by-play basis. So anyway, on the to-do list is better studying potential and also looking back at maybe the most valuable draft classes previously. Before I get to pick number 5 with the New York Giants, a reminder that the PFF NFL podcast is sponsored by Western and Southern Financial Group. While you focus on your roster moves, Western and Southern helps advance your money moves. Buying your first home, planning to start a family, wondering how to make your money grow? Well, Western and Southern's playbook of life insurance, investment, and retirement solutions helps you rest assured on game day. Team up to understand needs and address goals with a game plan built just for you. Get started at westernsouthern.com/PFF. All right, we're on to pick 5 here. So I'm picking for the Giants, both selections here, 5 and 7. Now, this is an interesting one. I've got the Panthers at 6. I know Sam, the general manager, at 6. I think I don't think I feel like I have back-to-back picks here as the Giants. I have an inkling where Sam is going to go at 6. So I'm not worried about him taking one of my players. This is what the Giants have to think about at 5 and 7, right? Are the Panthers going to take one of their players that they might want at 7? So you have to pick that guy at 5. Which guy might the Panthers steal from you? Could be one of those tackles, if anything. But I have a feeling you're going to go quarterback. So
you don't know a damn thing.
I don't know. I'm just trying to read. I can't see into your draft room or anything, but
No.
I'm trying to anticipate. You know what I'm saying? So I got the Giants at 5. So it doesn't really matter who I take, but I'll take Evan Neal. I'll get the tackle off the board just in case you decide to go tackle. Evan Neal's my choice at tackle, my tackle 1, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to take Evan Neal at tackle. He's going to play right tackle for me for the Giants. The Panthers will be up at 6, and then I'll come back at 7 with some decisions to make here. So give me Evan Neal at number 5 for the New York Football Giants. Solidifying that offensive line. That puts another very difficult selection up on the board for you here.
Well, it puts you, I mean, mistakes have been made, right? Clearly. For the Panthers to be in this situation where pick number 6 rolls around and you still have no quarterback.
And this is, well, I think the other massive mistake that's been made is here's pick 6 for the Carolina Panthers, and then I won't see you again until 137.
Yeah,
Panthers
I mean, many
GM.
mistakes have been made.
137 for the rebuilding Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
That's their next pick after 6.
Right. Catastrophic. I would argue that trading down is absolutely the right thing to do if you're the Panthers. I honestly don't even care who's available. Trade down. Get out. You need more picks than this. You can't. This team is nowhere near good enough that one player, regardless of who it is going to fix it. If you're looking for one player to fix it, it has to be quarterback because it's the only player that's valuable enough to move the needle that degree. But this is one of the worst quarterback draft classes we've seen come along in a decade. So is there a guy that can fix it? They reportedly love Kenny Pickett. I don't. So there's just no conceivable way I'm drafting Kenny Pickett at 6. If I'm drafting any quarterback at 6, it's Malik Willis. Because I think, A, he's got the ceiling to be the best. B, I actually think he's got one of the highest floors if you need to throw a guy out there day one in a situation that isn't amazing and say, make miracles happen because I need help. So I think Malik Willis could actually be put in there day one with his rushing ability, do a sort of Jalen Hurts impersonation, and get by. And hopefully that's enough to convince people in this building to give me another year, you know?
Well, no, you're Sam, the new GM for the Carolina Panthers. This isn't just a save my job move for you.
I mean, if you're the new GM, your game plan is trade the hell out of 6, accumulate draft picks, and try and patch this thing up as you go. And honestly, for the new GM, it doesn't even matter if you're starting Sam Darnold for another year because what do you care?
Yeah.
In fact, starting Sam Darnold for another year probably helps you because, you know, he's unlikely to be good. And you'll have a high draft pick next year where it might be a much better draft. Oh,
now you're rethinking. Trade. I'm not trading up with you. You could.
No,
you're the GM of other teams that could trade up. You could mortgage someone else's future to help the Panthers.
Perfect. I do think that there is an argument to take Malik Willis at 6. I don't like it enough that I would do it. But equally, since I'm not picking again until 137, I don't love just grabbing a tackle and trying to fix that. This is a genuinely horrible spot for Carolina to be in. Like, many mistakes have been made, and you're just stuck with it. I would take Charles Cross and grab something else at quarterback from free agency, from, when Baker Mayfield is cut. Well, who is likely to be better for you next year? A rookie quarterback in the worst draft class to come along since 2013, or Baker Mayfield?
Why are you drafting for 1 year? Are you assuming your job is on the line here as Panthers GM, or are you freshly hired?
I didn't mention. I mean,
who's better for us? Who's better for next year?
Who's better? Period. Who is likely to be better next year or beyond? The quarterback in the worst draft class since 2013, or Baker Mayfield?
2013?
Yeah.
2022?
The worst draft class since 2013.
Oh, since 2013. Or Baker Mayfield. Yeah. I mean, if you can get Baker Mayfield, yeah, he's an upgrade.
And Baker Mayfield is almost certain to be cut at some point.
Okay.
So rely on that. Sign him.
Are you just thinking about 1 year here?
No. I mean, 1 year is part of it, but the thing holds long term. I mean, it only gets less likely slightly as you extend it out by number of years.
Okay.
But Baker Mayfield at this point has proven to be somewhere in the middle tier of quarterbacks, admittedly with a fairly broad range of outcomes so far, which is, I would say, a better over-under than you're going to get from any of these rookies.
Okay, so you're going to sign Baker Mayfield and just grab a tackle.
Yeah, Charles Cross.
All right.
Franchise left tackle. Now we're almost fixing the offensive line.
Wow.
Now we've got like 3/5 of a good offensive line.
So Charles Cross, number 6 to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Second, back-to-back tackles off the board here. No quarterbacks
by the
off
way,
the board still.
I am, if that's me, Carolina Panthers GM, I am trashing my predecessor in the media for either side of that pick. Every comment I make on the record is going to be slamming the guy that put me in this crappy position in the first place, ripping him to pieces, laying all the blame at his doorstep. Be like, look, what do you want from me here? I'm trying to make miracles happen with this one draft pick I've been left with.
Not even passive aggressive, just
just straight,
aggressive.
Exactly, pure aggression, just dropping all the blame at his doorstep.
So I could see you finishing because the GMs have press conferences on Thursday night after they pick their their first pick. So I could see you finishing. We're gonna go Charles. We went Charles Cross, but I'll see you guys Saturday. You just look at the media. And it's like it's Thursday night, and you're like, I'll see you guys on Saturday.
You gotta,
when my next pick.
It's a needle to thread because you can't just be like, oh, this dude sucks. You can't rip Charles, right? It's not his fault.
It's not his fault,
right? So you got to praise Charles as we got a great player. We're really happy.
We just prefer to have two more,
right? We're not picking for another 3 days. That's not great.
At least we got those 8 games of Stephon Gilmore, though.
Right.
Right.
That's the kind of thing.
That's
so
what you're saying.
we gotta walk that tightrope between praising Charles as this great addition to the team and making sure we firmly rip the dude that came before us.
They lost a 3? Forget what they lose. The 2 was for last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 3 was Gilmore, right?
3 was Gilmore, and the second rounder was whatever they did in the draft last year, I believe. Who did they trade up for last year?
Where's their pick?
I forget now. Anyway, I'm back on the clock with the Giants at 7. Now that Charles Cross is off the board. Again, so it's a good thing I grabbed Evan Neal. I did that just in case you did decide to go tackle and not QB. With the Giants at 7, and now Thibodeau's off the board. I think that's a guy you would consider. Realistically, the Trayvon Walker thing, if the hype is real, he's in play here. But boy, am I fascinated by Sauce Gardner here at number 7 overall. If I'm the Giants, we've had James Bradbury on the trading block. We got Adoree Jackson locked up for 2 more years. Bradbury heads into the last year of his contract. You know how much we value secondary play here at PFF. I love Gardner. I think he's the 1 and 1A between him and Derek Stingley. I already picked Derek Stingley in my other GM job at number 3 to the Houston Texans. So I'm really tempted by Sauce Gardner here at number 7 for the Giants. Put Bradbury out on the trading block again. You call the Chiefs. You call all these these cornerback needy teams. But at the very least, you have Gardner taking over next year, even if I get one more year of Bradbury playing. So I'm going Sauce Gardner here at 7 for the Giants. That gives me Evan Neal and Ahmad Sauce Gardner for the Giants.
It's actually hysterical where the Jets second or where the Panthers second round pick is. It was the Sam Darnold trade.
That's right. So this is what you really gotta. So your press conference, right? So we're circling back to the Panthers here. I'm trying to give Sam some press conference pointers. Talk up Charles Cross. Drafted him at 6. You do well by Charles.
And look, our second rounder is Sam.
Yeah, and then you want to be like, hey guys, I'll give you a little Friday preview. You saw it last year. You saw Sam last year. Sam's our guy right now. I mean, if we're playing a football game right now, our second round pick is already playing.
Yeah.
How many other teams can say they already got a starter?
At least until
in the
we
second
get
round.
At least until we get to Monday, and I get to put him on the bench because I'm bringing in Baker Mayfield.
Right, but that's fine. But right now, my starter is a second rounder, and then you guys got to see Stephon Gilmore for 8 games, our third rounder. You guys saw that, and he's still out there.
Yeah,
we didn't get that comp pick
we could
back
bring him
or
back.
anything. We could bring him right back. There's our third round pick. That's your press conference. Really aggressive.
Yeah.
On the last guy, but then you finish with see you Saturday.
Mistakes have been
at
made.
Pick 137.
Pretty serious mistakes.
All right, quick recap here. Aiden Hutchinson to the Jags, Kayvon Thibodeau to the Lions, Derek Stingley to the Texans, Garrett Wilson to the Jets, Evan Neal, the first of the 2 Giants picks, Charles Cross to the Panthers, and now Ahmad Sauce Gardner to the Giants for their second pick. I'm happy if I'm a Giants fan with these 2 players. Yeah. Evan Neal, Ahmad Gardner. Boom.
Sure.
Puts the Falcons up on the clock, and now Falcons, Seahawks. There's even the Texans here at 13 coming up. There's QB questions.
Yep.
Who's going to take a quarterback? What are you doing with the Falcons here at 8?
I'm not. If I'm the Falcons, we're rebuilding. We're blowing this whole thing up. I don't think a rookie quarterback helps at this point, both short and long term. I don't really see any point in throwing him out there for a nightmare year with this team around him. I don't think it's helping. So I'm not going quarterback. I think pretty much anything else is on the table, though. So, Kyle Hamilton, depending on what you think safety value, his ceiling is, etc., he's, I think, on the slide relative to when we thought he could be a top 5 pick, running pedestrian isn't the right word, average 40 times that got worse, as he went. Combine time was underwhelming. Pro day time was reportedly worse, even though there's a number out there saying it was faster. Generally speaking, you're talking about a guy who needed to show he was a special athlete and didn't. So that's not great. Ike Ekwonu, I think, is now intriguing. Number 8 overall, a guy that is still potentially, I think, in the reckoning for the number 1 overall pick. Certainly in the reckoning for anywhere in the top 5. The Falcons have left tackle locked up. Right tackle is more of a question mark. There's also this feeling that Ike Ekwonu could be an all-pro level guard as opposed to the right tackle or left tackle or whatever. I think he's definitely in the conversation. At that point, it's probably a reach to go for any other position. George Karlaftis on the edge. Trent McDuffie would be the 3rd corner off the board. Drake London, the 2nd receiver. Or you're into guys like Trayvon Walker, other positions. So I've just talked myself into Ike Ekwonu.
Really?
Yeah.
And I don't know if Renner's going to – did he reshape the board at all?
Yeah, I think so.
Today?
It's been – for today?
For today. I don't know if it's been loaded into the mock draft sim yet. I mean, today's I think the draft guide's coming out today, right?
I don't know.
I know we got Hutch week.
Yeah.
And draft guide week all at the same time here. So you're going to go Falcons with Ike Ekwonu.
Yep.
Pushing Kyle Hamilton down the board. Man. All right, so Ekwonu here for the Falcons. You could play him at right tackle. Caleb McGarry has not been great as a former first-round pick, or like you said, shore up that offensive line for the future quarterback. That puts the Seahawks up here at 9, and now I'm faced with the same QB dilemma. Do I want to go quarterback here at 9 if I'm the Seattle Seahawks? Also have 2 picks early second round in the 40s, have a massive hole at left tackle. You just took the last of that top trio of tackles. This is not helping here. This is not helping what I'm trying to do here in Seattle.
Current starter, Drew Lock.
Drew Lock's the current quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't know when I'm going to be picking in the top 10 again. I really don't if I'm the Seahawks. I think if Malik Willis is on the board.
If Drew Lock is your starting quarterback, I can give you a pretty good suggestion.
It could be next year.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I'm not going to be passive-aggressive the same way you are, or aggressive-aggressive with the Panthers. But I'm not feeling good about the Seattle roster and where it is. There's holes across the board. Secondary, pass rushers, all in need. Offensive line has been a need for a while, and they just lost their best 2, really. Dwayne Brown and Brandon Shell. So, man, I don't know where I'm going here. Can go anywhere. They would probably take Trayvon Walker. They would take the upside play here. I might have to go Malik Willis. But then I'm putting him on this roster of not a whole lot other than receiver.
Which is a pretty important part, to be fair.
What's that, receiver?
Yeah.
No, it's a good starting point. But, again, I feel like, having DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to throw to would be pretty helpful.
Don't you forget the great D. Eskridge.
You got D. Eskridge, last year's top pick for the Seahawks, their second rounder. But this is what happens. Like, the Seahawks had 3 picks last year in the draft. This is what happens to your roster when you don't draft enough. When you don't draft in volume at all, and you trade all your draft picks for players that end up, kind of struggling at safety like Jamal Adams did.
Yeah.
Silence. As I ponder.
That's good podcasting.
It's really good podcasting. It's drama, Sam.
Yeah.
We're building up drama.
Sit tight. Steve will be with you in a minute.
For this Malik Willis pick.
Nice.
I'm going Malik Willis. We're taking a shot at quarterback. I keep telling you, if Pete Carroll wants to run the ball, Malik Willis will run the ball. I don't care. They just had Russ and they never let him keep it. Malik Willis is going to run the ball. We're gonna grind it out in Seattle.
It's always a bummer when you're the team in the PFF mock draft sim taking a quarterback somewhere in the top 10. Just how far you need to scroll to find the quarterback.
Scrolling's a pain.
It doesn't make you feel good about your pick, is what I'm saying.
No, I don't feel good about anything.
Yeah, you're already annoyed because you've got to take a quarterback somewhere at the top because you put yourself in this position. And now you've got to scroll past all of the players that are higher on the big board.
So the first quarterback's off the board. It's Malik Willis.
Yep, number 9.
Going to the Seattle Seahawks at 9. I'm taking that chance. I'm taking the shot on Malik.
So we're better than the 2013 E.J. Manuel draft where E.J. was, 15?
Yeah.
We're a whole 6 picks better than that.
We were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, expectations for quarterbacks, I just saw Greg Cosell said, hey, there could be as many as 5 quarterbacks in the first round. Like, expectations are all over the place as far as how many end up in the first.
What would your line be?
2.5?
Yeah, I think 3 will go in the first. I think 1 will go pretty high. I think 1 might go in the middle somewhere, and then 1 right at the ass end of the first round.
I could see I forget who had the mock where, like, there were 3 trades back into the first round. Like Seattle taking whatever picks they have in the early, like 41, 42, whatever they have.
Yeah, like
packaging it to come up to 32.
Green Bay or
coming up to
Kansas
31.
City, those 2 teams at the bottom end of the first round who have multiple firsts, you could easily flip those into next year to trade into the second for a team looking for a quarterback.
Yeah. And the reason why that works a lot is because if you're Green Bay picking at 28 or Kansas City at 29 and 30, the difference in your draft board at 29 and 30 and say 45 or even 50 or whatever it is, the difference is going to be negligible, right? I mean, you might actually get the same player that you would take late first.
I do wonder how much, because it used to be the idea that, you really want that 5th-year option. That's why you're trading into the first round. Is that even relevant anymore for a quarterback? Because you're either paying him the contract way before that 5th-year option is relevant, or you're kind of stuck in this spot of, he's not really, like, the Sam Darnold or the Baker Mayfields of the world are the guys that have the 5th-year option picked up. Is that useful?
You know what? It's a good point. Like, you're either all in or you're not.
Yeah.
And
if you're all in, you knew years ago.
If Baker Mayfield, if you didn't have is this a performance issue with Baker Mayfield? Is it part off field or whatever? I mean, he's a steal on his 5th-year option, right?
Except nobody wants him.
Yeah.
Like, nobody will trade for that contract right now because they don't want to pick up the 5th-year option. Because they just saw what happened with Sam Darnold when you trade for him and you pick up the 5th-year option, and now you're saddled with Sam Darnold on $18 million a year, and he sucks.
Yeah.
Much though he would claim otherwise. Do you see his comments?
No.
I know I'm a good quarterback. I've proven it.
Of course.
Sure you have, Sam. There was that one throw at USC. I showed I could be a great quarterback.
This could be his year.
It could be. I would bet quite heavily against it being, but it could be. Stranger things have happened, Steve.
All right, so you had a pretty good pickup for the Jets at 4 with Garrett Wilson.
There was a great line in a sitcom about that, stranger things have happened. Only 2 spring to mind. The spontaneous combustion of the mayor of Warsaw in 1547 and that incident in 12th century Burgundy where it rained herring.
What about those?
It was just a line in a sitcom once.
Oh.
When somebody says stranger things have happened.
I got
That's
you.
like the response.
Yeah.
Only 2 spring to mind.
So you need to turn that into a meme. Sam Darnold's breakout year.
Raining herring.
Yeah. So you picked up Garrett Wilson at 4 for the Jets. You're back on the clock at 10. But, Sam, the only true guaranteed quality pickup this season is Manscaped. Before you pick at 10. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming. With Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0, your skill position will be sleek and smooth enough for that sub-434. Support us and head to manscaped.com. Use the exclusive promo code PFF at checkout for 20% off plus free shipping. Because of their ceramic blade and skin-safe technology, your nicks and snags will be reduced. In the season of trimming that roster, Manscaped will make sure you're cutting the right players and not any important pieces to your D. Look, fellas, don't fall off her draft board. The ladies out there think that long nose hair is a major turnoff. So the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is your solution. Why not use the best tools for the job there? April's draft season, but it's also Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code PFF at manscaped.com. It's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code PFF. Turn your Mr. Irrelevant to a first-round pick with Manscaped. All right, you're back up on the clock here.
Yep.
At number 10 with the Jets. Who are you pairing with Garrett Wilson?
We've done obviously a lot of mock drafts already, and the Jets almost always end up in quite a neat situation of typically they get either the top corner and the top receiver off the board, or they get one of those and an edge rusher that fell. Thibodeau ends up falling to 5 or whatever.
But you're facing smart GMs now.
Of course. But the big issue is that we're lower on Trayvon Walker than everybody else. So if you go to the sort of the real world, quote unquote, the world of NFL GMs, if you're sitting there at number 10 and Trayvon Walker is there, the Jets are running that pick in, presumably.
By the way, I don't completely buy that.
Okay.
I think there's enough hype that people are intrigued, but I think the same reservations we have, like the hundreds of evaluators also watch tape.
I'm just saying.
And value tape.
To some extent.
They do.
If we're in a world where Trayvon Walker is seriously considered at number 2 or number 3 overall, he's absolutely being snapped up at 10 if he falls that far.
Maybe, but I don't know.
Anyway, the point being that in this world of you and I, where we're lower on him and he's not value at this point, it becomes a lot trickier because now you're saying, well, okay, the top 2 corners are off the board, and I think there is a gap to Trent McDuffie because of his size limitations, and if he succeeds as a true, like, legit number 1 corner, it will be a huge outlier relative to, other corners in the NFL. You've already taken a wide receiver, so now you're sitting there going, okay, is George Karlaftis value at number 10 overall?
You're looking at our board, by the way. I'm seeing him going late first
to
a lot of people.
Right. I mean, Karlaftis, Trayvon Walker, whoever the next edge is he worth number 10 overall? Probably not. Is an interior defensive lineman worth 10 overall? No. Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis? Nope. You've already taken a wide receiver. Do you want to double dip twice in the top 10? Probably not. Cornerback, we've already out. So at that point, I'm kind of circling back to Kyle Hamilton and saying, all right, at 10, I think he's probably the best pick I have at this stage.
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
To the Jets. Yeah, that's what I was thinking if I was Jets GM.
By the way, so Jets fans seem to hate it if you don't come away with an edge rusher in Jets also have picks at number 35, number 38. Like they pick twice at the top end of the second round because they have
2 edges there that are pretty good.
Right, because they have that Panthers pick. You can either pick 2, you can get 1. Certainly, it's a deep edge rusher class. I think top of the second there are going to be some edge rushers there. I have no problem not picking an edge rusher with the top 10.
So you're going to go Kyle Hamilton. They already have LaMarcus Joyner and Jordan Whitehead. Whitehead they bring in free agency.
Yeah.
And honestly, even slot corner is a question there, and Hamilton can line up over the slot in a zone-heavy scheme like the Jets play. Line up over the slot, play free safety, play strong safety. I like that a lot.
The slot thing, though, would be a reason, I think, that Trent McDuffie wouldn't be a bad pick. So you can take McDuffie, believe in him as your potential true number 1 corner outside, but if he ends up becoming Bryce Callahan, fine. We need that anyway.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, if you wanted to talk yourself into Trent McDuffie, you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I could always talk myself into Trent McDuffie. I like him. Even though I tried to talk myself out of him as the Patriots pick, I was just, the last time we did this, just saying, is he a perfect scheme fit? I don't know. So McDuffie on the board, but you're going to go Kyle Hamilton here. Let me lock that in. Where'd my draft go? Kyle Hamilton at 10 to the Jets. By the way, I just want to give a little quick breakdown on Hamilton. If he did run in the 4.7s at Pro Day, perhaps that's a concern. If you just look at his top numbers, no matter how you look at him, if we use Eric's combine score and that as I described before, that combine score, we map it to PFF grade. So when we map that to coverage grade, this number doesn't mean anything to anybody, but he's a 1.66. But the average for, say, a good safety in the NFL has been 0.66. Our round 1 safety has been 0.78. He's almost double, or he's 1.6 standard deviations over the average safety, just mapping his workouts to grade in coverage. Okay, so that's good. All of the stuff about his 40 times, his entire workout mix, size, length, speed, all that stuff, projects very well. If you take the RAS score and all that stuff, also, if you take your best numbers, it all projects very well for Kyle Hamilton. The question is, if he did run a 4.7 rather than in the 4.5s at his pro day, like, what the heck's going on there? Because you take the guy's best number, but it's still concerning if he's 0.2 lower running a few weeks later, right?
But it's not – it would be a 1/10.5. And I think there's an understanding that the track at Indy is a fast track. Generally, the track at Indy is supposed to be fast. So,
but it's also like the track that we use as a baseline historically.
Yeah. And look, I know. So it works both ways because the track at Indy is supposed to be fast. So in theory, pro days should be slower. On the other hand, pro days are typically faster because of home cooking. You don't have to be up at 4 a.m. taking a piss in a cup. All these kinds of things, right? So if we say it's a wash between the fast track in Indy and what you're expected to do better, you're talking a tenth and a half slower. I don't know that that's beyond like just the margin of error or your weight fluctuates 15 pounds because you're, 275 or whatever. Where are you?
Today, jumped on the scale this morning.
Yeah?
Depending on which part of the floor I put the scale.
Which part of the floor? All right.
It's like a step on the scale. Between 266 and 276.
Wow. Okay. So
this was like within seconds, like back to back.
Sure.
Like I weighed in at 266, I moved it, and then I was 276.
Your margin for error just stepping on a scale is like 11 pounds, right? I just think that if a margin of error of a 220-pound safety running a 40 should be like a tenth and a half anytime you do it. No? Like a tenth is like the margin of error just operating a stopwatch.
I see how amateur you are. Because you're mimicking. This is why.
No, I mimicked the stopwatch. You
mimicked a stopwatch and you used your thumb.
I did.
And if you're a thumb user, you could say, 1.5.
I did that very specifically because people understand this as a stopwatch mime. People don't understand that as a stopwatch mime. You look like somebody,
real scouts.
You look like somebody trying to catch a gnat out of the air.
Real scouts catch gnats with their
but nobody else understands that from quick glance. You need to talk to them in their language, which is thumb.
Just because you're an amateur scout.
Anyway, so I'm saying that like if he ran another 40 tomorrow, it wouldn't shock me if it was a tenth faster again.
I'm checking Twitter. Somebody did bring up the fact that you took a receiver at 4, Garrett Wilson. Like you kind of screwed yourself here because you would have had the pick of the litter here for receiver potentially at 10.
But also like it was the same problem. Like, the reason I took a receiver at 4 was because we'd already lost corners.
Yeah. And the edge that you would have taken in Thibodeau, I assume, if you're the Jets.
Yeah.
If you were going to take an edge, it would be Thibodeau, not any of the other
exactly.
guys.
You've lost Thibodeau already. You don't think Trayvon Walker is worth number 4 overall. You've lost Stingley already. The question is Sauce Gardner worth number 4 overall? Maybe.
Our Trayvon Walker game of chicken is going to be interesting here, just to see how far he ends up falling.
Yeah. But like the decision for the Jets at 4 is essentially you've lost the only edge you would have taken at 4.
Yeah.
So your call is, do you want the top corner on your board potentially, if it's not Stingley, or do you want the best wide receiver in the draft, whoever you think it is?
Now you could have taken Sauce.
Yeah.
Let's just go back really quick. If you were the Jets, you could have taken Sauce Gardner at 4 and said, okay, Stingley's already off the board. Let's play the scarcity game here. I know you, Jets GM, you either want to come away with one Thibodeau, and if you can't get Thibodeau, a receiver in a corner. So because a corner's already off the board, you could have taken Gardner at 4. The next place a receiver might have come off the board was you at the Falcons at 8.
Yeah.
That would have been Garrett Wilson.
Right.
But then you would have had the next receiver.
Sure. But like either way, you take Wilson at 4 and you hope that Sauce makes it to 10, or you take Sauce at 4 and hope that Wilson makes it to 10. Either way, you're at the risk of somebody grabbing the guy you left until the next spot.
Yeah.
Now, the only argument is if Sauce goes, you've taken the top 2 corners off the board, and we said there is a gap to Trent McDuffie, whereas if Wilson goes, in theory, you still have Drake London or whoever you like. But
Jameson Williams, you've got Chris
again,
Olave.
this is, if you go back and listen to my wide receiver rankings, like I don't have Drake London as anywhere near.
But you could have taken Olave. You could have had your corner.
But I think
where you have Gardner, but you could have had Olave too.
But I think there's a big enough gap between them that it's a comparable drop to me between the top 2 corners and McDuffie to Wilson to Olave.
You got a really good player in Kyle Hamilton. All right, so Kyle Hamilton 10 to the Jets. I'm back on the clock now with the Washington Commanders at 11, and I'm really tempted by wide receiver in general. And here's the thing. Chris Olave, I also ranked number 2 as my receiver. I'm going to stay true to my guns here with Washington. We're going receiver. Now, my question is, the number 2 receiver on both of our boards is Chris Olave. Do I want Olave to pair with Terry McLaurin, or do I want something different than McLaurin. And this is where Drake London and Jameson Williams are both intriguing because they're at like this, they're both at the ends of various spectrums of different, right? Drake London with massive size and ball skills, Jameson Williams with just incredible speed, where Olave is just a good all-around Z receiver. And I could easily make that argument, right? Just give me a good Z receiver. That's how I've described Olave. Opposite Terry McLaurin, the X. Mm-hmm. But I'm really intrigued by big-bodied London for Wentz or the speed of Jameson Williams. So this is one, I'm like Mr. Best Player Available and all that stuff, but my current roster mix matters, right?
Sure.
So now I'm sitting here between Drake London and Jameson Williams. Williams is the number 3 receiver on both of our receiver boards. I think I want Jameson Williams.
Okay.
I want that speed to extract the aggressiveness that I need out of Carson Wentz. If I've already invested in Carson Wentz, I got to do well by him for my team.
Mistakes have already been made.
Yeah. I'm at my press conference Thursday night like, look, I would take the best player available, but I'm chasing speed here so that Carson could throw the ball down the field.
But I have this hot dog sitting over here, and I got to give the guy weapons.
Yeah. Not even give him weapons. I just don't know if he's good enough to win without him. So I got to get the weapons for Carson Wentz. And I could go Chris Olave. I could go Drake London, but I'm going Jameson Williams, adding the uber deep threat to Terry McLaurin, who's already fast, but McLaurin's a better, more polished all-around receiver.
Yep.
And I'm liking that for the Commanders here.
Okay.
Puts you up with the Vikings.
Yep. Biggest needs, I mean, pretty much anywhere on defense, edge rusher, cornerback, interior defensive line. These are all areas I think they could use upgrades. I think the offensive line is still a work in progress. I also haven't seen this much, but I don't think it's crazy that for them to take a first-round wide receiver again. I know they have
the Vikings.
Yeah, I know they have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Thielen's getting on at this point.
Yeah.
So they're in a very awkward spot because they've kind of kicked a lot of contracts down the road and they're stuck with players for a while. Guys like Harrison Smith, Adam Thielen, these are guys that you should be thinking about the future with, but you might not have the luxury of doing so because of the contracts they're on. But I don't think it's crazy if the board fell in a certain way that they could draft a wide receiver. And, you know, a lot of people have Drake London as the number 1 receiver on the board or in the draft. And if he's there at pick number 12 and a couple have already gone, it's not nuts.
I think people aren't thinking about that for the Vikings because you're just coming off this regime that was not using 3 wide receivers, right?
That too, yeah.
You had this team that was always – it was Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, and then it's Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and every time it'd be like, hey, it'd be great to have a wide receiver 3, but they never used that guy.
Right.
But Kevin O'Connell's coming in from the Rams, who use 11 personnel more than anybody. That's 3 wide receivers.
But they did kind of stumble into KJ Osborne, who, you know, I'm not saying he's going to stop you drafting a guy at 12 overall, but he was decent, and they might be looking at that and saying, hey,
sure,
he's fine as our number 3 in 11 personnel.
Sure. I'm just saying I agree with you. Like, maybe receiver should be on the table more than what we've seen.
Yeah, and I think for me as GM, it would be.
Yeah.
Now, if I liked Drake London more, maybe I would be entertained by that at number 12, but I don't, so I'm not. Trent McDuffie, I think, is the pick that makes too much sense. I think he's a good corner. I think you take a chance on the idea that he will be the outlier and thrive on the outside, even though he's small. And if he isn't, you need a slot corner anyway. So what the hell?
You do. All right, Trent McDuffie going to the Minnesota Vikings. I like it. At 12, it's a good pick. And where would we differ from the NFL? 3 corners going in the top 12 here so far. Sometimes tends to be a trend with our mock drafts versus reality. Maybe we weigh the cornerback position a little bit higher than the NFL traditionally, so we might not see this on draft night, but that's where we are here in our draft. Texans are up at 13, and this is where I think I'm going to start considering Trayvon Walker. And I don't know, am I getting too sucked into this? You know, Renner initially, I don't know if George Karlaftis from Purdue ends up at 10 on our draft board. I don't know where Renner's re-ranked him. I know where I've put him. He's a first-rounder, probably middle first-rounder type of guy. Am I going to get sucked into the Trayvon Walker upside? in athleticism.
But here's where I think it becomes reasonable, right? Like, I think the idea that Trayvon Walker's upside and athletic potential and what he was sort of hamstrung by in terms of the scheme in Georgia, the idea that that is enough to offset the gap in production between him and Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, I think is crazy. The idea that it's enough to offset the production between him and Karlaftis, I think, is more a reasonable argument to make. So I think any argument that's trying to put him number 1 or number 2 overall is just, it's way too optimistic and like pie in the sky projection. But I think if you reach this point and you're at pick number 13 and the top edge on the board is Karlaftis, that I think is a much more reasonable argument to make.
I'm also, to reiterate too, when I pick twice, I'm more likely to take chances. Now, you could argue as the Texans GM at 3, I took a chance already in Derek Stingley. So do I try to hit back-to-back homers here with Derek Stingley and Trayvon Walker? Do I play it a little bit safe? I think Devin Lloyd, for a team that needs every position, the linebacker out of Utah, would be a very safe. I feel good about Devin Lloyd being a good NFL player. Zone-heavy scheme. He excels there. He had a very challenging role at Utah. I ran the numbers, Sam. One of the most challenging roles for a coverage linebacker over the last 2 years. And still performed really well. In what terms? In just how difficult it is to grade in our system as a linebacker based off of which coverages you played.
Okay.
So based off the coverage mix that Devin Lloyd had, he should have, it would hurt him from a grading standpoint. But he still graded really well. He's got the size, the length. I think now I'm going to play it a little bit safer and go with Devin Lloyd.
Playing a linebacker in the first round is your safe pick, given the recent history of that?
Oh, maybe you'll talk me out of it. I'm not. There's a place where I feel better about Trayvon Walker as a different GM. It's probably at 15 with the Eagles, just as a heads up. But man, the other thing I'm thinking about is receiver again, because that's what we do here. I think about receivers a lot for the Texans. QB's not in the mix for me right now. I don't feel as good about Bernard Ryman this high. So give me Devin Lloyd.
All right.
I'm going Devin Lloyd from Utah.
With your safe pick.
I'm trying to talk through it here.
We're like a decade away from that being a safe pick, but all right.
What do you mean?
You're stuck with it now because I already pressed the button.
Oh, I pressed the button too. Okay, fine. Devin Lloyd, linebacker for the Texans. It's a good scheme fit for what they're going to do. All right, Ravens on the clock here at 14.
Yeah. Defensive line, pretty much anywhere on the defensive line, to be honest. Cornerback. This is where those Georgia guys, and honestly 3 of them, I think, are in the mix. This is where I think they all become interesting options. So Trayvon Walker, I think, is absolutely a player that Baltimore should be interested in. They're a team that's going to rely on their ability to coach players because they've done it before. They've done it well before. And Trayvon Walker does have freakish athletic ability. Now, he has terrible production, like really bad. And only some of that gets explained by the scheme. So this is an important point, right? The scheme legitimately does explain some of it. Like you go and look at how much he aligned inside as opposed to on the edge. It's a lot more than Hutchinson, than Thibodeau, than those kinds of guys. On the other hand, if you look at just the snaps when he was lined up outside, he still wasn't productive, So it's not like, they just lined him up in places where he didn't really have the ability to rush the passer, so therefore his production is worse. If you look at just the snaps where he was lined up outside on the edge as a true rusher, it still wasn't productive. If you then look at, obvious passing situations, so you can't, because the next excuse is, in that Georgia system, he was tasked with setting a hard edge. This is Jarrett Johnson we're talking about here. This is not a guy who got to pin his ears back and rush the passer. So, okay, fine. Now, if we look at just obvious pass rushing situations, nope, still isn't. Like, there's no way of slicing data, tape, subsets, whatever, that makes Trayvon Walker a comparable level of production pass rusher to the elite pass rushers in this class. So now what you have to do is say, okay, he's just ill-refined in that area. And what we're going to do is take the fancy ball of clay, and our coaching staff here in Baltimore is going to turn that guy into the pass rusher we know he can be.
I'll take that even one step further. What if you just say he was never allowed to win a pass rush, right? The scheme said never win, just take the edge, right? So we've never even seen him try to win. We've never even the scheme just never let him do anything. It's still risky because you've never seen him do it. Because he's never been asked to, go win one-on-ones. I'm just saying theoretically. Of course, he had to win every now and again. But like you said, you're looking at it from like a production standpoint. But even if you say, well, he's supposed to keep contained and he's supposed to do all these things, then it's still a risky first-round pick because he's just a ball of clay, as you said.
Yeah, but I think the point being that like there's no defensive scheme in the world that says don't win. Whatever you do,
no, there's like
don't win your rep,
win a certain way,
right,
and all that stuff.
So, and there's absolutely a fair argument that says that the defensive scheme he was in at Georgia definitely didn't put him in the same position to succeed and to dominate and to consistently win as Hutchinson or Thibodeau or some of these other guys, right? But you can find like different subsets where he did have a comparable, chance to win those reps and didn't. So it's a thing, but it doesn't get you all the way there. And that's the point. And that's why I don't think he's in the top 5 conversation, or shouldn't be for me. But at pick number 14, now we're interested. Similarly, I think Devontae Wyatt is the cleanest of those front Georgia defensive line players, whether it's Trayvon Walker on the edge or Wyatt and Jordan Davis on the interior. I think he's probably the most immediately successful and just has the cleanest tape and is good.
Really?
Yeah. And then Jordan Davis is almost kind of like an interior version of Trayvon Walker. It's like the production isn't where it should be. Some of it is explained by scheme. Some of it is explained by but then there's the sort of lingering question mark of, well, why wasn't he more productive as a dude that's that freaky? 6'7", 340 pounds with the ability to like manhandle 2 different offensive linemen at the same time. Why were you not a human wrecking ball like all the time, right? Every single rep that guy played, he should have been winning immediately, and he wasn't. Why? So I think if I'm Baltimore at this point, I'm massively intrigued by either Trayvon Walker or Jordan Davis.
That's great. You got to pick one.
I know that. Yeah. I'm weighing that up now.
Full disclosure, last year when we did the head-to-head, I think we mocked it out ahead of time, right? And then kind of like fake real-timed it, you know? This year, this is legit real-time.
Also, by the way,
we're thinking through it.
I think Linderbaum would be in the conversation as well.
Yeah. There's the one Ravens fan who attacks me all the time saying, no, they always say he's too undersized and the Ravens like big dudes, and he keeps sending me quotes. And maybe he's right. But I'm the Ravens GM.
Right.
I don't care what they say.
If he's 295, are you telling me that 10 pounds on this guy is the difference between him? Oh, he's not a scheme fit at all over here. He puts on 10 pounds of weight and you're like, perfect, nailed, first round pick. Like it isn't. He's already shown that it's not like the 10 pounds is costing him anything. We're already looking at this guy absolutely dominating. His quickness puts him in position to make the blocks anyway. I don't care that he's 10 pounds lighter than you want him to be.
All right, Ravens at 14. Where are you going? Make a pick, Sam.
God damn it. I don't like this pick. Because there's too many options.
But there's no locked-in option here. I'm starting to not love the draft right now. I'm looking ahead. I'm trying to anticipate. I got 2 Eagles picks coming up here. I think that's how we'll do it, right? I'll do the 2 Eagles picks. You'll do the 2 Saints picks. I'm just not loving it.
Okay.
Ugh is right. Ugh.
All right, I'm going to take Wyatt and work on the no, not Wyatt, Walker, and work on the basis that one of my elite athlete edge rushers will become amazing.
Well, he's gonna get 10 sacks a year, half of them unblocked. With the Ravens, and think about the comp pick. You're drafting him for the comp pick you're going to get.
And think of the athleticism I'm putting on the field at edge now between Odafe Owe and Trayvon Walker.
Absolutely. Look, there are also clips of Walker dropping into coverage and making plays, and you can do that with him. Like, you don't want to draft a guy just because he could drop into coverage as an edge defender, but the Ravens will use him in a versatile way. I like it. Trayvon Walker at 14.
Done.
Look, I could be suckered in by low production guys just like the next guy.
Great.
What just happened here?
That'll lead to some really successful drafting.
No, I mean, I wouldn't really get sucked in. All right, Trayvon Walker goes to the Ravens at 14. Here's how we're going to do it. I've got the Eagles here at 15.
Yep.
I'm taking all the odd picks, but they also pick at 18. So I'll take the 2 Eagles picks, and then you have the Saints at 16 and 19. You'll take the 2 Saints picks.
Yeah.
Sound good?
But then what do you want to do about the Chargers?
And then I'll take the Chargers. We'll go back to me at odd.
Okay.
Right? And then you'll get the Steelers at 20.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take the Eagles at 15. You went Trayvon Walker. That's one place I would have considered him. I'm looking at Devontae Wyatt here as the interior wrecker because the Eagles love to have that good defensive line. And I think Wyatt makes a lot of sense here. So I'm going to go bring back Fletcher Cox just for the 1 year. You've got Javon Hargrave. Cox maybe have 2 years left.
No, I got one. I think they signed him too.
Yeah, my data could be off here. Look, we're bringing in big bodies. Give me Devontae Wyatt at 15 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Plus, Devin Lloyd's off the board here. So, where is he? I'm taking Devontae Wyatt at 15 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Puts the Saints on the clock in this very interesting situation here.
Just writing Milton Williams right out of history.
No, but he's more of an edge, too. He's kind of an edge.
Milton?
Yeah. 270.
I mean, he's not,
both.
He plays inside.
He's an in-out guy. Give me Devontae Wyatt.
All right.
So Wyatt goes 15 to the Eagles. You're up.
The Saints, I think. So, we had that reaction about what are the Saints doing with this trade? Are they trying to trade up again? Are they making a move into the top 10 for a quarterback or blah, blah, blah? People were making the point that they really just don't give a crap about the future ever. So, really what they want is we have 2 holes to fill, offensive line and wide receiver, and we want them both. We want 2 first-round picks, offensive tackle, wide receiver. Done. The end. So they're perfectly prepared to make a ridiculous trade at this point, 3 weeks ahead of the draft, just to be able to have those 2 needs filled, which is
that was my theory on it.
It's amazing and
was
possibly true.
That they just wanted to fill those needs. Now, they're also a couple years removed. They drafted Cesar Ruiz, a center/guard, at a position that was not a need at the time. I mean, it's not like every single time, but they went up to get Marcus Davenport. They're aggressive.
Yeah.
For sure.
So if you're looking at offensive linemen, the top 3 tackles went. So now it's the Bernard Ryman, the Trevor Penning of the world, or your wide receivers. You still have Drake London on the board. You still have Olave. These are guys definitely in the mix. 16. I'm going to take Trevor Penning at 16.
Really?
Yeah.
He's going to play left tackle for you there?
Yep. Okay.
Trevor Penning, the mauler, to play left tackle for the New Orleans Saints, replace Teron Armstead. So that puts the Chargers up on the clock at 17. So I'm going to go back-to-back here, Chargers and Eagles. With the Chargers, this is one of the most debated picks has been Jordan Davis, right? Jordan Davis on the surface before the Chargers made a few other moves looked like this perfect. He's going to play run defense for us. We can multi-gap with him and play the soft coverages, the too high coverages that we like to play if you're Brandon Staley. So that's an intriguing pick there. You also have the offensive line overhaul that the Chargers did last year, but there's a right tackle question right now. That's where Bernard Ryman, currently 13 on the PFF draft board, he could be in play. So I like Ryman there potentially as well, who you just considered. So I'm kind of glad you went Penning over Ryman because I think I'm just going to take him to play right tackle and fill that need along the offensive line. Need plus value. I'm not drafting for need here, Sam. I'm continuing to build this offense around Justin Herbert. Give me Ryman, and I'll figure out. I don't even need a 340-pound defensive tackle, right? I'm not saying I'll figure it out later. I don't think I need that. I don't need that on my roster necessarily. But I'm going Ryman here to fill that right tackle spot for the Chargers. That gives the Eagles. So the Eagles are back up on the clock. I already took Devontae Wyatt at defensive tackle. This is where, for the 3rd straight year, I'm probably drafting a receiver. This was more palatable before when you had 3 first-round picks, I think, if you're the Eagles. But I would say value matches up here. I'm going with my wide receiver, too, Chris Olave, at 18. The guy that you think gets open too much for Jalen Hurts. It's a ridiculous take.
Not what I've said, but sure.
Yeah. Look, you can't defend yourself. I'm on the clock. So I'm taking Chris Olave at 18 for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that'll give him Devontae Wyatt and Chris Olave. They'll figure out this receiver situation at some point, right? Devontae Smith, Chris Olave as your 1 and 2. Feeling much better about that.
What do you mean they'll figure it out?
I mean, they just keep drafting receivers. And by the end, at some point, we'll have a nice, well-rounded receiving core. This is another step to it.
I mean, they might have one already if the quarterback was able to hit.
Yeah, Devontae Smith can still. Yeah, he's still good. We need more receivers. So we're getting Chris Olave.
All right.
That puts the Saints back up on the clock at 19. So you're going to pick for the Saints at 19, and then the Steelers at 20. I'll come back with the Patriots at 21.
The Saints, I think, are going to take the next wide receiver on the board, which is many people's number one wide receiver on the board, Drake London. And while I'm less in love with him than others, I think at 19 he's good value, and I'll take that chance.
Oh, boy. Drake London at 19 to the New Orleans Saints. You're going to keep Michael Thomas around?
If I can, yeah. I mean, so
wasn't that
Austin's comp, I
Austin's
think.
comp.
Terrible comp for him. Hate that comp for Drake London. But
what was you hated Austin's comps? What is he looking for? Production comps?
I don't know.
What's he looking for there? Because I've made production comps.
That's part of the
before.
problem. Is it's just that people need to specify when you give a comp, like, what is this? Is this is how productive this player will end up being?
We do, by the way. Sorry, I interrupted you again. I hate when I do that.
There's many different ways. Like somebody tweeted the other day, like, oh, you guys are hating my comps, but they could be like production comp, style comp. There's all these different types of comps. Like, oh, okay, which were they, right?
Yeah, you have to specify.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're going to complain about that, you need to at least like give the context of what the hell you're talking about when you give these comps. So Austin was one of those people, right? Tweeted out, here's my 15 comps for all these guys. I'm not going to tell you what they are, like stylistic, production, whatever. Anyway, whatever his comps were, I always think about it as a stylistic thing, right?
Yeah.
To me, if you're going to give a player comp, it should be a style comp.
And if you're making a style comp for Drake London, the dude has to be at least 6'4", right? I mean, that's your starting point.
At the very minimum, though, like I am assuming it's a style comp unless told otherwise, right? So if you're throwing out a comp there, absent of context, I'm assuming you're talking style. And I don't think that Michael Thomas for Drake London is a stylistically good comp.
No, if you're saying, because I use the phrase uber possession guy, which is that Michael Thomas, Chris Carter, average 12, 13 per catch and just move the chains a ton. If you're saying Drake London's going to be that guy at the NFL level, not a burner, not an explosive player, but he's going to move the chains a lot, similar to Michael Thomas, I could understand that. If you're saying that's where the production's going to land. Or if you say he's going to be like Matt Jones with ball skills. Jaguars Matt Jones with ball skills.
The problem is like production. I mean, Michael Thomas has been one of the most productive wide receivers in NFL history through the first few years of his career in terms of volume of catches and all those kinds of things.
Maybe you feel that's what Drake London's going to do. All right, so you're going Drake London at 19 for the Saints. That gives them Drake London and Trevor Penning building that offense around Jameis here.
Yep.
All right, Steelers are up on the clock here at number 20.
They are. And a lot of the people that they might have drafted are already gone.
There's one guy I think they would.
You've been saying they want Malik Willis since like the start of the draft process.
Well, he's gone, obviously.
Yes.
I'm saying like Linderbaum, though, I think would be their guy here.
Well, yeah.
I'm not trying to make your pick for you or anything, but
same colors. You fit right in there. Keep his own uniform.
He looks like a Steeler.
Yeah, he could keep his old.
His undershirts and all that stuff, same ones.
Doesn't even need to get new stuff.
So true.
Well, that's obviously a bonus. Yeah, Linderbaum, I think, is definitely in the discussion. They do need to keep building offensive linemen. Would you take a quarterback? Who are you down to? Like, you've lost. I mean, I think a big part of it is what you think of the number 2, 3 quarterbacks. Where are you on Desmond Ridder? Where are you on Kenny Pickett? I don't think you can.
Kenny Pickett, the hometown hero.
Kenny Pickett's the one guy. I don't want to spend a first-round pick on Kenny Pickett.
I did my weekly Pittsburgh radio hit last week.
Uh-huh.
And the two guys, Pony and Muller, that I work with, were like
Pony and Muller?
Muller. Looks like Mueller.
Pony.
Andrew Filipponi. Pony and Muller.
I see. Rather than the horse.
It's not like the hits you do with the Bear and whoever else you work with.
Well, yeah. I mean, people give themselves some weird names.
Yeah, radio names.
Yeah.
Pony and Muller, pretty big names over in Pittsburgh, but they were the coaches of the Pittsburgh spring game on Saturday. So they, connected with the University of Pittsburgh and all that stuff.
Right.
And I was fresh off of receiver scouting at the Senior Bowl, where
you hated Kenny Pickett.
Yes, where Kenny Pickett, every throw is like an overthrow, a 12-yard underthrow. It's just a disaster.
Uh-huh.
And I may have taken out some of my Kenny Pickett aggression. I mean, there was like awkward radio silence when I was like, this is the guy I just wouldn't take in the first round.
Yeah.
If I'm the Steelers. I'd take Malik Willis. Maybe I'd take Desmond. This was my answer, actually. They asked me, Desmond Ridder. But I just wouldn't take the other guys in the first round if I'm the Steelers.
I agree.
And they were very upset.
I don't think Kenny Pickett is a first-round talent. I think the narrative on him is kind of off. Like the things that people say he's great at, I don't think he really is. I think he's going to struggle early in his career because he holds onto the ball too long. He doesn't have a great sense in the pocket. Anytime anything gets cluttered, he immediately is looking to run the hell away from it and make plays with his legs. And as much as he did that a lot in college, I don't think he's a good enough athlete to survive or to thrive doing that at the NFL level, with the caveat that has got me burned in the past. I think that is a very tricky judgment call to make, right? When is your athleticism enough for the next level versus when it's not? If it's not, you end up as Christian Ponder. If it is, you end up as Patrick Mahomes, just in terms of like what you can get away with. So that's and honestly, if you went and looked at like the 40 times between Ponder and Patrick Mahomes, there's probably not much in it, right? So that is a pretty tricky line to tread.
Game speed, baby.
Right. So, but so I don't think Kenny Pickett is going to survive just because he's accurate at the next level. Whereas if you look at Desmond Ridder, Ridder's processing is really good. His accuracy is less good, but when he actually hits the dude he's aiming for, he hits him properly. Like it's in stride. It's perfect ball location. It's just that every now and again one of them's going to miss completely. And he's a way better athlete. So I actually think there's a much easier sell on Kenny Pickett at like 20. No, sorry, on Desmond Ridder at 20 than Kenny Pickett. That being said, I don't really want to do either of them. So if I'm the Steelers, I'm going to take Linderbaum on the basis that I think he might be might be the Quentin Nelson of centers, i.e. somebody that's so freaking good at that position that it changes where you should be drafting a center.
I think that's the right play. That's fine.
And 20, by the way, puts him in the range of like where you should be drafting a quote-unquote elite center anyway. Like that's where, Nick Mangold or whatever was
you definitely feel much better about that. All right, so let me fill that in here. We've got where's my mock here? Lost it. Well, I was looking up some measurables for maybe my next player. Did I lose my mock draft?
Sweet. It's the Patriots up next.
It's right here. All right, so Tyler Linderbaum, that's who you picked?
Yep.
To the Steelers. I think that's a good pick for them. They like that.
Let me know what the pony says.
Remember I did the survey last time we did this. I did Linderbaum or Penning, and they said Linderbaum.
Which I think they're crazy about, by the way.
Think about it. Once he's drafted by the Steelers, just give him the gold jacket.
Hasn't that mystique gone from the last guy they drafted at that spot?
They didn't draft him in the first round.
No, but now you
Kendrick Green was a third-round pick.
But now you broke the streak. But now you broke the streak. You can't be like, we go from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer to this dude in the third round.
What was it? Webster?
Yep.
In the 70s. Dermontti Dawson?
Yeah.
In the 80s. In 90s. You got Marquise Pouncey.
There's one more, isn't there? Wasn't there a guy after
someone else
between
in there?
Dawson and?
Yeah, it wasn't a Hall of Famer though. Alan Faneca was the Hall of Famer on those teams after Dermontti Dawson. Then it's Marquise Pouncey in like 2010, and now it's
we had Jeff Hardings for a while.
Right, not a Hall of Famer,
no,
but not a first rounder.
Okay,
right. You go from Dermontti Dawson, then you get first round Marquise Pouncey. Now it's going to be first round Tyler Linderbaum. 10 years, and boom, right to the Hall of Fame. That's what we're getting.
Okay.
All right, Patriots are up here at 21, and I don't love anything here. I think this is one of those picks with the Patriots where you're looking at needs, and it's like, yeah, you can look at the offensive line at tackle for the future here beyond Trent Brown and Isaiah Wynn. Don't know if there's anybody that fits the bill right now. You could look at, they just have Devontae Parker, maybe receivers off the board. You could add more edge depth. You could always use linebacker help. This feels like the Patriots. Belichick's just going to draft a safety at 21. There's no non-Kyle Hamilton safety that I think is getting drafted in the top 21, but this definitely feels like Belichick's going to draft a safety. And I could actually be talked into that. The right safety, Jaquan Brisker from Penn State. Been grinding that safety tape. I'm a big Brisker fan, Sam. Okay. Devin McCourty's here for one more year. He's retiring soon. You're starting to play more too high, zone coverages. That's where Brisker, with his physicality, plays well. Him and Kyle Duggar. So I could see that on draft day. I could just see it happening.
Well, this is not what Belichick's going to do. You're GM.
I know, but
You're
GM.
You're going to go with safety.
Brisker's high on my Patriots board.
You're going to reach for safety
as the GM.
number 21.
It's not a reach. It's a first-round player. Renner's
You're picking at 21.
Renner's out of his mind.
The first-round player is not relevant. It's
the players that we have on our draft board, like Andrew Booth. I'm not touching Andrew Booth in the first round.
Why not?
Clemson corner. He's not that good.
Isn't he?
No, he's not that good.
He's pretty good.
I'm not touching Andrew Booth in the first round.
Andrew Booth is just a cornerback version of the Jordan Davises, the Trayvon Walkers of the world.
True,
It's
and I should
athletic potential.
I should be more likely to take the corner than, say, the defensive lineman in those situations. I think Karlaftis, too, is incredible value here. You got Matthew Judon, you got Josh Uche, but Karlaftis can be my edge setter. I think that's where I'm going because he's still 10 on our board. We'll see if he ends up dropping or whatever, but I'm going George Karlaftis for the Patriots here at 21.
Okay.
That's what I've talked myself into. Do we need a reset or anything? Just rewind.
Just rewind.
Just rewind. Who's top on the PFF draft board right now? Packers are up at 22. Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Sam Howell.
Why have I got all the teams that have made mistakes and saddled me with a horrible situation?
What do you mean? The Packers have given you 2 picks.
I had
22
Carolina.
and 28.
I had Carolina, where I'm going to have a nakedly aggressive press conference after my pick and blame everything on the last guy that was in the building. I've now got Green Bay, where I've got the final twilight years of maybe the greatest quarterback to ever play, and I have no wide receivers.
What?
Yeah.
They don't have Tom Brady.
Maybe. And I'm settled here with no wide receivers. So I have to draft a wide receiver.
Yeah, and you have to report back to Aaron Rodgers like, hey, Aaron, here's the guy we drafted. I hope you're not mad.
I'm just going to be in the press conference. Well, Aaron liked this guy, so that's who we've taken.
That's good.
We've gone from –
Who do you think's top on Aaron's board right now?
That's the thing. We've gone from – well, he wanted Randall Cobb back in the building. So who's the most Randall Cobb-esque wide receiver?
Sky Moore.
Anyway, we've gone from like Aaron,
by the way, he also wanted Justin Jefferson really badly.
We've gone from we're not even going to get his input or assistance in wooing free agents ever, right? He literally has no say whatsoever in the roster composition of this team to, well, we've got 2 first-round picks and no wide receivers, so we're just going to let Aaron make the selection at this point.
That's what you're doing as GM?
I mean, I'm absolutely going to get his input. Like, this is going to be your number 1 wide receiver straight out of the box, Aaron. Who do you think is going to be that guy? Like, all right.
I feel like you need to talk to him then because and we're running out of time. We're live.
Have you got his phone number? You can call him up right now.
AR12.
Wide receivers. Traylon Burks from Arkansas. He's a very difficult evaluation because he's got incredible balls. He's got incredible playmaking ability, big body, weird usage pattern in Arkansas. They were just trying to get the ball in his hands any way, shape, or form. Literally had at least a snap in every offensive position except offensive line. So wide receiver, slot, tight end, backfield, quarterback. He literally had at least a snap everywhere just because they're just trying to get the ball in his hands. On the other hand, didn't run very well, has some concerns about his weight, and has no kind of route running savvy / professional ex-receiver history, right? Just hasn't really played that. Massive unknown quantity. Sky Moore, I think he has an incredibly high floor, is really good, very confident that he'll be a good NFL wide receiver, but I don't know if he can be a great one or like a legit number 1 ex-receiver, which is kind of what I need at this point. And then the X-Factor guy in there is George Pickens, who I think Georgia wide receiver, ACL injury coming off.
He's next on your board.
Yes. So I think he's the guy that actually does have that receiver number 1 ability, is getting underrated by a lot of people because of the ACL, because of the relative lack of proven production at college, just hasn't got the run at it that some of these other guys have. If I wanted to stake, like if I'm a Packers GM, I got Aaron Rodgers sitting there breathing down my neck wanting my number 1 wide receiver because I just traded his away, or somebody just traded his away. I didn't do that. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't do that.
I got to replace that. The guy I'm most confident in replacing it with is George Pickens.
Did you consult with ownership here?
All of them?
Yeah. You got to get
I talked
ownership
to Mike.
involved here. Yeah, I
Does
just
that
talked to
count?
Mike.
Shareholder.
The best thing about Packers ownership is they put their draft board at PFF.com. Mike Renner, shareholder.
That's true.
Get the draft board right there. Right? So you kind of know what the Packers are going to do.
Technically speaking, this draft board is endorsed by Packers ownership.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
So I would trust the board.
That being said, I'm GM here.
You are. You're not
Look,
trusting the board.
you hired me to be autonomous, so I'm going to make my own damn pick. I'm not going by your.
So I got to scroll all the way down to Pickens.
Yeah. So I'm drafting George Pickens.
That's
Can't
locked
stop
in?
me. Yep.
George Pickens to the Green Bay Packers at number 22.
Done.
Yeah, are you going to circle back and hit another receiver here?
Who knows? Let's see how the board falls.
What's our draft promo this week? Draft 50? Is that what it is?
Sure.
I tweeted it out earlier. We're giving 50% off.
Draft 50, yeah.
Off Elite. Draft 50. 50% off Elite. Now, you can still get 25% off of Edge using NFL Pod.
Yes.
Right? I'm just saying.
No, that's true.
That's still on the table.
It's a good point. Well worth
But
making.
50% off PFF Elite. I don't think we do this very often.
No, that's as big as a discount as you're going to find.
I'm serious. I didn't know we were doing this until they sent me the note today to like, hey, tweet this out. Tell people that we're 50% off. Tell your listeners. So Draft 50 is the promo code. 50% off. Of course, you get the whole year, right? It's the annual subscription. And 50%, that's like half off. So I would consider this.
Very like half off.
Strongly. Draft 50. And then send an email and say, you heard it here from us. Because credit. It's all about credit here. PFF NFL podcast. Chris Sims has his edge rusher rankings.
Oh, yeah?
Coming out soon. I just
Soon?
stumbled into Twitter here by accident.
Can't
and,
have soon. I need now.
I can't wait to see. He's going to have Hutchinson 7. Like, what's going to happen here? Hutchinson and Thibodeau are out of the top 5, would be my guess. I don't have any Chris Sims hate. I don't really care. It's just funny because I appreciate the fact that his rankings look different. It's good.
I do
Our
as
rankings
well.
should look different too.
Honestly,
I appreciate that stuff.
People get given a lot of crap for rankings all the time. Like the second you have one guy that deviates from the consensus or whatever, you're an idiot. Your rankings are invalid immediately because this one dude. Like so, in my wide receiver rankings, I have Jahan Dotson a lot lower than a lot of people.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, idiot. Your rankings are invalid because this one guy. Like, well, what if the other 9 are nailed, right? Even if you left him out and he's a Hall of Famer, right? What if your other 9 are like the most accurate rankings of anybody? Are you immediately an idiot because of that one dude you got wrong?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I appreciate whatever I think about Chris Sims' rankings, and I think a lot of the times they're nuts. I massively appreciate the fact that he's willing to go out there and say, screw it, I think this is different to everybody else, and I'm willing to put my name on it and say this is what I believe from watching the tape.
So you're no different than the guy on Twitter that says you're nuts. You just appreciate it.
I'm all for being nuts. Who wants conformity when it comes to draft rankings? So his wide receiver rankings, he had like Alec Pierce number 2 or something, right? And he had neither of the Ohio State guys, who I have 1 and 2, in his top 5. I think that's crazy, but I love that he's willing to go out and do it because it gives people, A, it's a talking point, and B, it gives you something to look at when you go back, in a couple of years' time and say, yeah, that guy was out there on one. He either got it right or he got it wrong.
Yeah. Again, we joke with on the Chris Sims rankings.
Alec Pierce is number 3.
We hang out with Chris every now and again.
Number 3 on his. But where we're similar.
Oh, Alec Pierce. Yeah.
So he had neither of the Ohio State guys in his top 5. But he also had Drake London number 5, which is where I have him. Whereas most people have Drake London number 1.
There'll be some similarities.
Yeah.
So I think the rankings from a guy like Sims that are generally very different than the consensus also just gives you insight into like what he values, right? And that is always interesting to me.
And with quarterback, you get a very clear sense of what he values at quarterback, which is like athletic, physical tools above all else.
Yeah, and he works hard at it. So.
Yeah, and in recent years, that's had a good track record of panning out. We've talked about these toolsy quarterbacks are on a good run of becoming good NFL players.
Right.
So if that's what you value, you will have a good recent track record.
All right, so I'm up on the board here. Arizona Cardinals at 23. I'm considering guard. I think right guard's a massive need. Defensive line is a massive need. I think Jordan Davis is interesting here too. But I'm going receiver for the Cardinals. I think once again, the same way the Commanders, you got to do well by Carson Wentz. I think the Cardinals last year they had AJ Green as their number 2, and they were so much better with a better, more well-rounded group of receivers. DeAndre Hopkins there is the X. the same concerns that you've brought to the table about Treylon Burks, I feel like it's a good fit in Arizona. You could do some gimmick stuff. He could be more of a Z. He doesn't have to be that number one X with DeAndre Hopkins, and he can develop.
You already have your gimmick. You got Rondale.
I'm not saying it's all gimmicks there, but he could do some keep defense off balance gimmick stuff.
2 gimmicks?
Yes.
Double gimmick?
Yeah.
Gimmick to gimmick?
That's the air raid. No, I mean Treylon Burks could play more Z type. Right receiver, really, in this system. There is no X and Z. He'll be right receiver. Left shark. All right, I'm going Treylon Burks at 23 to the Arizona Cardinals. I need more playmakers over there. Bless you, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use more tight ends. You got Max Williams and Zach Ertz there. Litter the field with playmakers. I'll grab a starting guard later.
Okay.
Treylon Burks to the Arizona Cardinals at 23. You're on the clock with the Dallas Cowboys at 24.
All right. It's Dallas. we fill our biggest need at all times.
Fallacy.
No, it's true. That's what we're doing.
The last 2 years.
We're going offensive line.
Fallacy.
So, for some reason, Dallas fans
they had
think that
70 linebackers, and they drafted a linebacker last year.
that only by mistake. Like, it was because somebody took the corners they wanted.
They had 2 awesome receivers, and they drafted a receiver 2 years ago.
Dallas have a need at left guard, and Dallas Cowboys fans are like, well, that's our only need in the offensive line, left guard. They also have an equal need at right tackle. Terrence Steele has been passable maybe at right tackle. Certainly no more passable than Connor McGovern.
Duke trains him, says he's great.
At left guard. Like, I don't understand how you can look at those 2 holes and the players that are currently slated to fill those spots and be like, oh yeah, one's a much bigger need than the other one. They're equal to me. Now, it doesn't really matter because I don't think there's a tackle out there that's going to fit that spot better than the guard available. So, Zion Johnson.
Boston College guard, Zion Johnson. You just slotting him right into left guard?
Right in.
Is he going to compete at right tackle?
No.
He could compete at both spots.
No, he's coming in,
Played
playing
tackle
left
2
guard.
years ago.
Playing. Done.
All right. Where's I got to scroll down a little bit for Zion. 32 on the board, so he's going to be the pick at 24 for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm now up the Buffalo Bills at 25. Unfortunately, Tyler Linderbaum's off the board, I can't take him. Jordan Davis is still on the board here for the Bills.
He is.
That's an intriguing one for the team that, the same narrative that we've had for the Chargers. The Bills team that likes to play the run with fewer men in the box. Jordan Davis would be a big help. Cornerback 2, I think, would be an important spot, a need and value pick here for the Bills. I mentioned earlier I don't want to draft Andrew Booth in the first round, but
you did. You mentioned that.
I said that as a different GM. Now I'm the Bills GM.
What?
Yeah.
You're still the GM. It's still you.
I have different draft boards, you see.
You said you didn't want to touch Andrew Booth in the first round.
Yeah, that was as Patriots GM, I believe it was.
It doesn't matter. You said in the first round.
Now I'm in
the
Buffalo.
round is still the same.
Now I'm in Buffalo.
Yeah.
The Patriots GM said that. I would go Kyer Elam over Andrew Booth. Elam's there are a couple different spots. They're a couple spots away from each other on the PFF draft board. But I would go Elam for the Bills if I was going to go corner.
Have you seen Elam's grades?
Yeah.
They're not great, Bob. And they're heading in the wrong direction consistently. We've gone from 88 to 77 to 62 in the last 3 years.
I understand.
Now, I will happily acknowledge that I have made the point that showing the elite play is more important than when you did it.
I'm going to say
the point I made with Derek Stingley.
I put Elam into my model.
I will also say
put him in my model.
That heading in the wrong direction that consistently is bad.
Let's see. Now, if you sort by what solid players do and is most stable, his coverage grade checks the box. His forced incompletion percentage checks the box.
Coverage grade?
Raw. Just raw over the course of 3 years.
3 years.
Because 3 years, all of his data matters.
Right.
Is the point here. So the things that are stable for solid players: coverage grade, forced incompletion percentage, wins above average per 1,000 snaps because he's had some injuries and all that stuff. He checks those boxes. Doesn't check the combine box, however. But he checks more boxes than Andrew Booth. So I'd feel a little bit better than Kyer Elam, knowing that I don't feel good about any cornerback projection whatsoever when it comes to data.
He had one defensive stop in coverage this past season, which was tied for the 702nd position.
Now you're just reading straight out of the draft guide,
yeah,
which is available for 50% off as part of your elite subscription using Draft 50.
When you're tied for 702nd in the nation. It's not great.
So here's what I'm going to do here. As the Buffalo Bills, what else do I have for picks? Where are my remaining picks? Why aren't they listed here? Come on, mock draft sim. I'm going to go Jordan Davis. Now I'm taking Davis. I'm going to the defensive tackle. They brought in Daquan Jones, fine. You got Ed Oliver there. Give me the big-bodied, movable chess piece on the defensive line.
How is he a movable chess piece?
Because you're going to move him from head-up nose to
shade nose.
Yeah, he's going to play all the nose tackle positions. What are you talking about? He plays like a 5 technique. He plays like a 5. So you move him around. He's going to move
precisely one step left or right.
I'm like, if I'm facing Linderbaum, I'm going to put him over Linderbaum. Every undersized offensive lineman, he's going to go and push him back.
And how many of those are there?
Give me Jordan Davis to the Buffalo Bills.
You're building a team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm going to circle back to corner because I think the difference in the next group of corners might be negligible.
You're building a team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a center that's like 10 pounds smaller.
That's fair.
It's the one
but
guy.
I have to beat more teams than the Chiefs.
The one guy that can go gut to gut.
Got to beat more teams than the Chiefs now.
The one guy that can go gut to gut with Jordan Davis and actually hold up okay.
Now, the notable guy that's Jermaine Johnson still on the board here. Yeah. A guy that the NFL is probably going to have go top 15. Nakobe Dean still on the board. You're up, though. Tennessee Titans here at 26. Oh, you got all the picks that you hate.
Right? There isn't a pick you can make that Tennessee fans don't hate, which makes me curious what they think their team is comprised of.
What are we going to do with the Chiefs? We have the Chiefs at 29 and 30. Well, I take back-to-back Chiefs, and then you can take the Bengals in Lions to finish it up.
Sure.
6 picks left here in the draft.
Yeah.
This is moving. Doing great.
So, to me, Tennessee still needs edge rushers. I know that they have a ton of money and, hope tied up in Bud Dupree and Harold Landry, but literally neither one of those guys is a tremendously effective edge rusher. I'm fine with Harold Landry being a starter because, he does play all of the snaps. He does get a good amount of pressure. It's just that he will because he plays all of the snaps. But Bud Dupree,
what are you going to do with them then? You have all that money locked up in those guys. You're just going to bench Bud Dupree or encourage your coaches, GM Sam? You're going to encourage your coaches to...
I'm going to give them a superior pass rusher and say, figure it out. And if you don't, I'm going to fire your ass because I'm the GM and you're the coach. And that's how this chain of command works. Okay. You know what the chain of command is? It's the chain I get and beat you until you understand who's in the chain, who's in charge here. That's what we're dealing with. So I'm going to give them the player, and they're going to figure it out.
You're giving them... You can't give him the player. He's on the Chargers.
Not that player.
Oh,
not
sorry.
The player. TM, trademark. The player that I want to give them. So, look, I think you can make an argument that they need linebackers, even though Tennessee fans think they don't. I think you can make an argument they need edge rushers, even though they and Tennessee fans presumably think they don't. Outside of that, I mean, that's where the value is. You can reach for a wide receiver if you want, sure. I don't want to do that necessarily. Screw it. I'm going to take Jermaine Johnson.
You're taking Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
All right. What do Titans fans want here?
I don't know.
They have a lot of feedback at the time here.
The Tennessee Titans were the number 1 seed
draft Jermaine Johnson
in the AFC last year. And they seem to be of the opinion that means they're the best roster in the league. I don't think it does.
I mean, I'm intrigued by the fact that they were the number 1 seed with all the roster turnover, and I think again,
and a lot of injuries.
It speaks to
they did a great job, but
the depth in what Mike Vrabel does.
Yeah, they did a great job. They've got great coaching, et cetera, et cetera. But
still had better players.
I saw somewhere somebody praising, it might have been the Athletic thing that Mike Sando wrote, where they're getting opinions of a bunch of NFL executives and coaches and whatnot, and somebody was praising Atlanta for recognizing that the number of wins they got last year was basically a mirage, right? It was like it would have been really easy to look at that and think, oh, yeah, we can still win and we're building something. They're like, no, they immediately recognized that this was like a complete myth and we're actually a garbage team right now and we need to press reset and blow this thing up. So either we get Deshaun Watson and we can go somewhere, or we got to get rid of the whole thing, start over, and try and get this thing pointed back in the right direction. I mean, Tennessee obviously are not in the same situation in that they didn't just win a few games. They were the number 1 seed. But I think you should look at that and be like, yeah, but now look at the rosters that all these AFC teams have assembled this offseason in this crazy arms race of the NFL, where the entire AFC West just became Super Bowl contenders, where the Chiefs still exist, where, all of these teams started building these Super Bowl-bound rosters, and you've done what? Okay, you trade for Robert Woods, great move, but you don't have the best roster in the AFC. You might not have a top 5 roster in the AFC. You have a quarterback that's certainly well outside the top 5 in terms of just getting the AFC. You're not set.
You're never set. It's one of my axioms. Your roster's never set. You're never set anywhere. Even at edge defender, where you have $500 million locked up in Bud Dupree and Harold Landry, you're never set. Therefore, sometimes you can add Jermaine Johnson to the mix.
And again, mistakes have been made in the past. Not my fault. Not my problem.
Look, the last GM threw the bag at these two dudes that I would never touch. So I'm drafting Jermaine Johnson, and he might be the best edge on the roster. End quote.
I mean, look, if he can't be better.
Sam on Thursday night, Tennessee Titans GM.
No, my introductory press conference be like, look, if this guy can't be better than Bad Dupree, I don't know what we're doing here.
Oh, come on, man. That's mean.
Do I need to read you his grades again?
No, I understand.
Okay, then stop giving me hate for calling him Bad Dupree. I'll call him Bud when he gets some pressure.
Are you firing up his page again?
Yes. I am firing up Bud /
Is this going to be part of your press conference?
I'd
like to call to your attention Exhibit A. Other than 2019.
All right, I would like to read you Bud's pass rushing grades.
Start in 2015.
2015, we started off with a bang with a 49 grade and 24 pressures from 344 pass rushing snaps. Of course. 2016, we went down to 17 pressures in 232 snaps, a 59 grade. The next year, 61. The next year, 61. Then in 2019, we had this breakout season, the incredible double-digit sacks, where we ended up with a 76 pass rushing grade, which frankly is a little bit above average. Our crowning achievement here is we once became an above average pass rusher. Then the following year, we went right back down to 61. And then our first year in Tennessee, 56. So basically, we've been a pretty consistently below average pass rusher, playing a ton of snaps and generally in a pretty good situation. I'm going to say I can do better than that.
Okay.
Here endeth the lesson.
Jermaine Johnson to the Titans at 20. Where are we?
26.
All right, puts the Bucs up on the clock at 27. With Zion Johnson's the only first-round guard that we have as far as grade goes. The Bucs are one of those teams. It's all right, we got to do best by Tom Brady here. Who knows how many years he has? You got to fill all these needs. I don't know if there's a guard I want to squeeze in there. Kenyon Green has been a common guy. We just dropped him on the board, Texas A&M. I could go that route. I have looked at available free agents, though, Sam.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like I could bring in, Darrell Williams hasn't really played on that side, but I could bring in a Quentin Spain for a year, and with everyone else being pretty good on that offensive line, I'll be okay. Ode Ibushi, I think we can get by.
It's also worth,
not drafting a guard is what I'm saying.
Tom Brady had the second fastest average time to throw in the NFL last year. Yeah. Tom Brady is about as good as it's going to get in terms of the job you have as an offensive lineman.
He's going to protect you a little bit, yeah.
So if you're Quentin Spain, coming off, a renaissance of a year last season. It's a way better situation than it was last year for him. Quentin Spain blocking for Tom Brady is a lot better than Quentin Spain blocking for Joe Burrow.
So I'm not going to draft a guard because of those reasons. The other places, now if I went your route, I'd grab Nakobe Dean and be like, here, go replace Devin White. My grades are bad on Devin White, but I know White has some value. I am the GM, but I'm not going that route.
Okay.
I'm not drafting linebacker this high.
You wouldn't want to take a risky pick.
I did it for the Texans.
Yeah,
I did it for the Texans only. I'm looking in the secondary for the Bucs right now. And Jaquan Brisker, who I loved earlier for the Patriots, I think is a really good fit for the Bucs. I'm using my little does he tick the box system. Listen to this one. Listen to this one with Brisker. Listen, Renner, move him up. He's a first-round safety. Brisker from Penn State. The metrics that lead to elite safety play, actually how well they cover in single coverage when they're one-on-one, has translated really well. Wins above average, coverage, all this stuff. He checks every box. Jaquan Brisker, and that's going to replace Jermaine Whitehead, who left, who had some physicality to the secondary. They brought in Logan Ryan. He's not a long-term option there. I'm going Brisker. Too high safety, fits what The Bucs like to add a little physicality in the box. I'm going Jaquan Brisker from Penn State. And that's their pick.
Not even drafting the right safety.
I like Lewis Cine from Georgia as well.
Yeah.
I think Brisker might be a tick ahead of him for certain teams, for me, as the general manager.
How far do I have to scroll to find your safety?
He's like 40th or something. Right? It's not too bad.
All right.
All right, so you're up now with the Packers. You already took George Pickens first time around.
I did. I took George Pickens. I still, however, have a fairly desperate need at wide receiver. I think I'm double dipping. I think I'm going to take Sky Moore, be confident in his floor, the fact that he will get open, that he'll win consistently, and that his ceiling is undefined right now. I don't know how good he can be. Maybe he'll be just a solid number 2, number 3 option and help my offense. On the other hand, maybe the fact that he wins across the board in every conceivable way gives him a higher upside than that, and maybe he ends up being the best receiver I draft in the first round. So there's no downside.
So you're going Sky Moore.
Yeah.
So now you have George Pickens and Sky Moore in Green Bay.
Yeah.
All right.
And Alan Lazard.
And Alan Lazard.
Bob Tunyon. Sounds like Funyon.
Is this a happy call with Aaron?
I would hope so.
We got 2 receivers for you, Aaron.
After a decade of never giving you a first-round wide receiver, we gave you 2.
How about 2?
Are you happy? And then he'll go, no, because I had Devontae Adams, and now I don't have Devontae Adams.
Well, these 2 will add up to Devontae Adams. All right, that puts the Kansas City Chiefs up on the clock for 2 picks. So I'll take these 2, and then you'll finish it up with the Bengals and Lions. So start getting ready over there. Mm-hmm. Chiefs at 29 and 30 here. Of course, the Tyreek Hill trade is this was originally the 49ers pick here at 29, then the Dolphins pick at 29. Now it's the Chiefs. And I'm just buying time as I figure out who I want to draft. That's what I'm doing. Because you just took another receiver off the board.
Yeah.
And let me just say, our next receiver on the draft board is Jahan Dotson, who's number 46 on the PFF draft board. Then we get into Jalen.
Not on mine.
Not on yours, but on the PFF board.
Yeah.
Dotson, Jalen Tolbert, they're both similar in my rankings. Christian Watson is in there. If you want to try to hit a home run, right? Is there home run potential there with the Chiefs? Is he too redundant with the guy that I comped him to, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's already on the roster in Kansas City? I don't think I can go the receiver route here. I think it's too much of a stretch for me in my board. Well, I mean, look, the draft, some of the receivers that have already gone will be available for the Chiefs, I believe, in reality. But if the draft goes like this, where you and I are picking and we value a lot of the same players, as Chiefs GM here, I feel like I'm getting screwed because I've already taken a lot of the players I would have taken it for the Chiefs. So how do I play this board? I think I might attack the defensive line, a massive need here. Boye Mafe from Minnesota, who has some of the best burst I think I've ever seen on the edge. When you watch him, it is difficult for tackles to even get in position quickly enough to block him. He's not perfect, but he continues to get better. Had a nice little Senior Bowl. I'm going Boye Mafe from Minnesota as my first pick here for the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's your defensive line.
So you're ripping me before for drafting edge rushers when they've got Bud Dupree and Harold Landry. You, as the Kansas City Chiefs, you got Frank Clark and his giant-ass contract saddling.
He'll be happy
to drop him out.
And Michael Dana.
Yeah, okay, that's less.
Dana had a nice career. I mean, the whole defensive line is an issue, whether Frank Clark is there or not. But we're trying to move on from Frank Clark. We're trying to set.
I mean, I'm trying to move on from Bad Dupree, but you won't let me.
Yeah, but you're only in year 2. Like, we're well into the Frank Clark experience here. We can get out of that a little bit sooner. So Mafe is going to take over for Frank at some point. I could go edge again. I could go defensive line again, but I'm not. I do think with Tyrann Mathieu leaving, you have Justin Reed, you have Juan Thornhill. Do you want one of those hybrid type of players? Jalen Petre's interesting here for Baylor. I don't think he's going to go this high, though, in reality. So I'll wait on him, potentially. But corner, Rashad Fenton, DeAndre Baker, we do need an outside corner. And this is where I mentioned there is Andrew Booth. We have a leak at my house. It's an emergency.
Yeah?
Well, just put your hand over it for a little bit, Cal. We'll get it. We'll get to it.
I'm not sure there's a ton you can do from here.
There's not.
No.
Except call a plumber. Can somebody send a plumber to my house, please? I'll just throw my address out. You just throw it to the. I'm kidding. Cornerback, Rashad Fenton, DeAndre Baker, you got L'Jarius Sneed playing the slot. I'm going outside corner here. I'm going Kaiir Elam from Florida. That's my next corner on the. I want him over Andrew Booth. You can have Booth. You can figure it out. You can grab him. But I'll take Elam from Florida.
Yeah, if you look on
back-to-back defensive picks here for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't feel great about it because I really want more receivers for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
but I don't like where they are right now.
This is a risk of the trade away the elite wide receiver strategy and replace him with the draft pick you got for it, particularly when it's a low first-round pick, is what if all the wide receivers go?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're sitting there without one. You don't even have the capacity to replace him with the guy you got for the pick. Like, what if the Vikings were drafting that year and all of the wide receivers, including Justin Jefferson, had gone by pick 20, whatever it was?
I mean, all Eagles fans wanted Justin Jefferson anyway.
Right.
Thought they were getting Justin Jefferson. The Vikings giggled in the draft room like, oh, we got Justin Jefferson.
It easily could have gone the other way where the Eagles took Jefferson and the Vikings ended up with Rager, and you're like, oh, crap, that didn't work out. But forget that. What if, all of them had gone? Like, Rager and Jefferson and, they'd all gone. And you're sitting there with your pick. And you're like, well, we've got a first-round pick to spend on a wide receiver, and there are no wide receivers. Like, that's a risk in doing this. Not to go back and hammer the nail in the coffin of Bud Dupree too much, but overthecap.com has they have a valuation themselves of what a guy should be earning. Over the Cap's valuation of Bud right now is $1.5 million.
Oh, they don't pull any punches, huh? They're just like straight math.
Yeah.
And I know those are based off PFF grades, so it's not redundant.
It's not even 1.5. It's $1.458 million.
Yeah. We have a good relationship with our friend Jason over at Over the Cap, and they do use our data for some of that stuff on the site. Yeah. We use their data on our site.
So look, Bud's going to be earning $16 million this year, and probably not justifying.
That's why you're a little bit better off drafting
Jermaine Johnson,
an edge.
Yeah,
getting that value out of him. All right. So I'll take. I got Mafe and Elam, back-to-back defense for the Chiefs. Those are needs too, but this is part of the Tyreek Hill strategy: is make the rest of the roster better. So we're doing that, but I still want to circle back to receiver. So you're going to finish it up, man. Unless you want me to take one of these two picks, whatever you want. But Bengals at 31, Lions at 32.
Bengals.
You already started the Lions, so you finish it.
Bengals, I think they're in a good spot here. As much as the players that have gone off the board have screwed certain teams and certain positions, for the Bengals, it actually works out pretty well. You've got Nakobe Dean still there. We have him at 18 on our big board. He's fits a position of need. The Bengals have some kind of young players at linebacker, and not all of them are terrible, but I think you could definitely upgrade either one with a Nakobe Dean pick. Jermaine Pratt in particular, I think, would be the guy. So you could go that route. How low do you think David Ojabo falls, given he just blew out his Achilles? So this is a guy that was like mid.
He probably misses this season. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
and it's an Achilles for an edge rusher, so the dude may never be the same again. Like, that's a real risk, as opposed to torn ACL. We expect him back 100%.
I don't think this is like Jeffrey Simmons. Right. Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State was probably a top 10 caliber player. Ends up going right around 2021 to the Tennessee Titans. Missed about half of his first season. Ojabo, I think, at least falls to the second round.
Yeah.
Because he would be, if he didn't hurt himself, we would probably be having similar discussions with him and Trayvon Walker, except Ojabo it would be 1 year of production and only 600 snaps.
Yeah.
And you would say, it's early in his career. He hasn't played a ton of football. He'll probably get better, but there's some risk there because he's only played 600-700 snaps in his career. So I would look at him as a mid-first round, probably from a PFF value.
Yeah.
But it's got to be second round, right?
I think so as well. So I think he's out of the conversation. But I think Andrew Booth, the guy you seem to hate, is definitely alive.
I hate him.
I think Lewis Seen at safety from Georgia is there, as is Jalen Petrie. Those, I think, are all viable options. I think Andrew Booth is definitely worth a gamble at 31 in the first round. That guy has insane movement skills, footwork, just some of the best physical tools of anybody in this draft. And he's willing to hit. Like, the dude comes up and lays the wood. Comes, smacks people. And, okay, he hasn't got the best tape in the world at corner. But the coach has got to do something at some point, right? Let's coach him up. I want to give you this guy who's got all the tools in the world. And I'm going to get him at number 31 overall. What more do you want?
I love how when you're actually sitting in the seat, you're going to, just Here, coaches.
I'm doing my job. Help me out here.
I mean, you sit here. We sit here, not you. We sit here and we're critical of the GMs who actually sit in the seat. Mm-hmm. And then when you're sitting in the seat, you're doing the same thing that you rail against all the time. Here's an athlete. Go figure it out, coach.
I mean, he's not just an athlete. I'm just saying, look, there's some work to be done, and the work's on your end.
Okay.
So do the work.
So you're going Andrew Booth?
I did the work. I scouted him.
Scouted him.
What's your problem?
Scouted him. Moves well. Good mover. Smooth mover.
All right.
Good footwork.
Great footwork. Yeah. Look, willing to hit. He's aggressive. You should love that. Now just teach him how to play corner.
There was some, not even going to get into it. There are some people that sometimes value the traits that you show while you're playing bad football.
Yeah.
Saw that. Saw that float around the timeline. All right, Andrew Booth. He's going 31 to the Bengals?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. His grades are, better than Elam's.
Yeah, but he doesn't check as many boxes when you look at the totality of their careers.
And look, he hasn't hit the ceiling of Elam. On the other hand, his grades are getting better every year as he gets more experience and more playing time. And his coverage stops don't rank 702nd in the nation. They rank 52nd.
Oh, there we go. His raw coverage grade ticks the box.
Yeah.
Combine score, the wins above average, everything else not so much.
I think he's a good gamble to take, given how young he is, how inexperienced he is at playing corner. So the Lions, 32. You want to combine on this pick, since it's the last one?
Sure.
Who do we get? We gave them
Desmond Ridder.
Gave on Thibodeau at number 2. So the Lions, again, they're in this spot of they hit the trenches hard last year. They're looking for everything on the perimeter and potentially a quarterback. Do you give them a quarterback at this spot, or do we grab value somewhere else? Like Lewis Cine makes sense for them. I think Nakobe Dean makes sense for them.
A lot of players make sense. I would probably lean QB. But I would lean QB through the lens of I'm also not shy about taking a QB next year too.
Yeah.
As GM, I'd probably take a Desmond Ridder. This year.
I haven't heard an answer to this question, but I would be genuinely fascinated to find out for real from Detroit. Like, when you set out this rebuilding plan that was obviously a multi-year process, where did the quarterback slot in on paper? Like, when you drew it up on the whiteboard, what are those, the Gantt chart? When you drew the Gantt chart up, where did the quarterback come in? Was it year 2 or was it year 3? Because whatever it was, I would stick with it if I'm Detroit. Like, I wouldn't – there's certainly nothing about this draft class that would make you go, hey, we thought it was going to be year 3, but this guy's so good, we got to take him year 2.
Yeah, but again, I keep coming back to they did a good job of getting those draft picks for Matthew Stafford. Let's continue to trade down and accumulate draft picks. But let's say you draft 20 times over the next 2 years, if you're the Lions. If 2 of those 20 picks are used on quarterbacks rather than a safety, a linebacker, another defensive lineman, whatever it is, that's going to be the most important thing, is hitting on one of those quarterbacks. I want to give myself 2 shots instead of 1. Even if I got an all-pro linebacker, it doesn't matter if I don't find the QB, right?
No, but if you find him with the second pick, then it means your first pick was just set on fire. Like, you did nothing. Like, if the second pick actually is the one that hits you on the quarterback, which if you missed on the quarterback in the first place, it needs to be, then it means your first pick was just a waste of time, and you could have had the quarterback that you hit anyway and something else.
Yeah, but there's 2 things here, right? So let's say you draft Desmond Ridder this year. Next year you get the number 1 overall pick, and it's C.J. Stroud, and you love him, and he's awesome, and he's great. Okay? Then you take Desmond Ridder, and all you have is 1 year of Desmond Ridder. He plays some games. He doesn't look like the next guy, whatever it is. Someone around the league values Desmond Ridder, probably as a second-round pick, right? He loses some value. You probably flip him for a third. Okay? So Desmond Ridder next year gets traded for a third-round pick. Okay? So now, to find C.J. Stroud, you gave up pick 32. You also got a third-rounder back. And then you used the number 1 overall pick, say, for C.J. Stroud. When teams trade multiple first-round picks, like the 49ers did or whoever, to go get their quarterback, it's usually 3 first-rounders and all that stuff. Like, that is not a big price to pay to find C.J. Stroud, right? And then the alternative would be maybe you have Nakobe Dean. Let's say he becomes an all-pro or a Pro Bowl linebacker, not all-pro. Becomes a very good linebacker. So you have Nakobe Dean, and maybe you still stumble into C.J. Stroud. But that's like what you're giving up, is maybe you're giving up a very good starting linebacker. That's a big maybe for the opportunity to have multiple chances to find your quarterback. So you've given up Dean, you've given up, which is pick 32, and you've given up whatever. I mean, you get a third round back. So Dean, you get a third rounder back, you get to your CJ Stroud. I'm just saying, like, those are the situations where it's not crazy to keep drafting quarterbacks, other than the human element of, like, poor Desmond's going to feel bad because they drafted another QB. But who cares? You're trading him anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that part matters, on the basis that if you're giving up on the guy after a year, who cares what he thinks? You know what I mean? This is like Josh Rosen. It's like, how much should we care about Josh Rosen's feelings when we're drafting Kyler Murray #1 overall? Probably not much, because we're getting rid of him. There
is an interesting note in the chat, and I've thought about this one before. Davis Mills, if he had gone back to school, remember he came out with about 13 starts. Mm-hmm. He went to the NFL, was the second best rookie quarterback. By default almost, yes. But second best rookie quarterback. He was better than Trevor Lawrence for the most part.
Sure.
Better than Zach Wilson. He's better than maybe Justin Fields. They were similar, right?
Uh-huh.
Davis Mills, if he was in this draft, if he went back to Stanford and had a pretty good season, he's a first-round quarterback, right? Is he the top quarterback in this draft if he went back?
It's totally dependent on what that season looks like, because I did not like his tape at all last year. So he would have had to be a lot better this past season.
But he was also in a not-so-good Texans situation.
Yeah.
Only Brandon
he played
Cooks
way
to
better
throw to.
for the Texans than he did at Stanford. But my point, so if you're sort of projecting...
So if he had like an 85... what he did in the NFL level, he might have been an 84, 85 college quarterback, grade-wise, which wasn't as high as Ritter, or wasn't as high as what we've seen from Sam Howell, but comparable. Kenny Pickett ended up with a 90.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the thing, too. If you evaluated Kenny Pickett a year ago at this time, you think you're out on him now, you would have been way out on him a year ago at this time. And he still had a 92 grade this past year. Was very good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's completely dependent on, like, what that season would have looked like. If we had gotten – so he had an 81 passing grade his final season at Stanford, and I thought his tape was bad. Like, it wasn't good at all, and I wasn't in on him in any way, shape, or form. He'd had 72 the year before. So if he'd gone 72, 81, and then, like, 90, right, that would have been consistent development. The 90 grade probably would have looked a lot worse than the 82. And, yeah, then I think at that point you're in the discussion, and maybe you're looking at his tape. He probably had fewer – at that point, if you're plotting out some kind of development and growth, he probably has less warts in his tape than Kenny Pickett does in terms of pocket presence, running the hell out of clean pockets, holding onto the ball for an age. His issue was like Andrew Luck, bad Andrew Luck mistakes.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, he would have been in this conversation, I think, as a first rounder. I think his tape would have been cleaner and there would have been less projection than Matt Corral and Sam Howell. So it would have put him, I don't think he would have hit the ceiling that Malik Willis has. He would be in the Desmond Ritter range, I guess.
Yeah.
As maybe QB2 in this draft.
Just an interesting thought experiment there. I'm looking at Ritter. I kind of like your reasoning on Malik Willis 1, Ritter 2 in your quarterback rankings, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of, from the Lions standpoint, I'm probably going to still draft a quarterback next year. I'm hypothetically saying maybe it's number 1. But I'm going to do what I can to probably draft a quarterback next year. But I'm going to try to go with the upside play in Desmond Ritter. I've given them Sam Howell before in this spot. I'm with you on I don't want it to be Pickett or Corral, really. So
I would love, if I'm the Lions here, I would love for there to be one of the high-end corners or wide receivers available at this spot. If there isn't, then I think
no one's there.
No, that's what I mean.
In our draft, yeah.
If there isn't, and in this draft there isn't, like, you've got to go all the way down to, I mean, depending on where you are in Jahan Dotson, I'm not high. If it's Roger McCreary at corner, if it's Kyler Gordon, Jalen Tolbert, these are all guys that you think are probably fairly solid second-rounders at best, at which point, what the hell, let's roll the dice on Desmond Ritter.
I would probably take McCreary in the first round, but if the NFL is going to get him later, I would play that game and take him later. So you want to go Ritter?
Sure.
Desmond Ritter, where's he on the board? 43. Pick 32. There it is. Draft's over. Detroit Lions take Desmond Ridder. Make sure you save this. Save this image. Download it. We'll tweet it out. We got to specify who picked for whom. I pretty much had most of the odd picks. So we'll get a graphic out there on our Twitter account so people can pick you apart. But I think it's good. It's a perfect mock draft.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll do another one next week. Love Mock Draft Monday because we get to discuss all of the various scenarios. They never look the same, right? There's all these different scenarios that we could talk through. Appreciate everybody tuning in on a Monday morning with us. Don't forget, Hutch is out this week, wherever you are listening to us in podcast world or on the YouTube channel. 4-part series on Aiden Hutchinson, his rise to the potential #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And then for a limited time only, Draft 50 will get you 50% off a PFF Elite annual subscription over at pff.com. Thanks to Western and Southern. Thanks to Manscaped. And we'll be back on. I'm traveling a little bit this week, so we'll figure out what's happening here.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Palm Springs, Sam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
It's a work trip. We got some.
I don't have a work trip to Palm Springs.
Well, you're in a different part of the company.
Yeah, I am.
I'm going with the techies, the tech guys.
Tech guys.
Yeah.
They need your expertise in there.
I am
a
a product manager, and we work hand in hand. So I'm going with my tech guys for some team building.
Okay.
Trust building. We'll probably fall and catch each other and build trust.
Who the hell's catching you?
I have to trust them.
I mean, I guess you can,
hopefully the rest of the team.
You can explain to them you're down to, maybe 265.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they catch the 265 me, they've got a shot. If it's 280 me,
that's what I'm saying. That's much more doable than 285, 290.
Maybe we'll try building trust a different way.
Rick could catch you.
Rick's pretty strong.
Right.
Yeah. He's getting old though. 51.
True. He's also like there's a stature problem there. Like how far are you falling at the point where he ends up catching you?
And the stumpy arms don't help there,
no,
like they do with the bench press.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of inside jokes here, but anyway, I'll be out and about.
Jokes, just jokes.
I'll be out and about this week. We'll try to get something done for the Thursday show. You might be on your own here for the mailbag show.
You gotta take some like pictures and video and stuff that you can tweet out from the podcast account. While we're in here
driving
in the studio.
the BMW and doing donuts and stuff.
Right. When we're in the studio, this is what Steve's doing in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
We can tweet that out in the podcast.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Document it. Maybe it lands on the TikTok page.
Maybe
we can TikTok the experience.
Yeah.
But I'll be around, and all sorts of great stuff here leading up to the draft. We are going to do the player comp show next week. We do have Nate Tice locked in, so your mid-2000s comps, we'll get that full experience as well. So
mid-2000 comps.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Anyway, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again on Wednesday.